My name is Kate, and I'm 40 years old. I've been married to my husband, Mason, for 10 years. He's the same age as me, and we used to work together in the same department before moving to different branches. Mason is a responsible man who's well liked by his team. He can be a bit proud and doesn't like showing any weakness. He used to be very confident and masculine, and everyone at work admired him. He was expected to be promoted without any trouble. I'm the opposite, quiet and shy. I was surprised when he showed so much interest in me since we have such different personalities. After dating for 2 years, he proposed to me with a big bouquet of roses. I had never felt so loved by a man, so I immediately said yes and looked forward to starting a great life together. But then, things took a turn. We ended up living with his parents, which I wasn't expecting. I wanted to say no, but Mason insisted, saying his parents were good people and that they were really excited to have me live with them. I couldn't refuse. For the past 10 years, I've lived with his parents, and it's been really tough. Every morning, my mother-in-law would complain, "Kate, you forgot to clean the entrance again," she'd say, even after I'd already made breakfast for everyone. I would apologize, but she'd reply, "Just saying sorry isn't enough, go clean it now." Even though I had to go to work, I was treated like a servant in the mornings. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to cook breakfast and clean, while my mother-in-law, who didn't work, didn't help at all. I'd rush through everything, go to work, come home, and immediately start making dinner. By the time I went to bed, I was completely exhausted. This daily routine drained me, and I became weak and sick. I think it was all the stress. My mother-in-law would continue to criticize me, saying things like, "Do the cleaning properly so the neighbors don't think we're neglecting it." She'd say this while sitting in the living room, eating the breakfast I made. "If you don't hurry, you'll be late for work," she'd add. Throughout all of this, Mason never defended me. His father would pretend not to notice, hiding behind his newspaper. Living with my in-laws has been terrible. The stress made me lose so much weight that I started to look unhealthy. My period stopped, and I couldn't get pregnant. Despite this, my mother-in-law kept blaming me for everything. Before marriage, I was healthy and cared about my appearance. Now, I looked different, and I didn't even recognize myself. The stress and the shock of my reflection made me feel depressed, and I became completely submissive to my mother-in-law. I lost all motivation to leave the house. Then, I received the news that my father had suddenly passed away in an accident. I hadn't visited my parents in a long time because Mason and his mother would criticize me for wanting to go. I regret not seeing him more before he passed away. My parents' home is about an hour's drive from my in-laws' house, so it's not far. I asked if they would come to my father's funeral, but they refused. When I told them about it, they quickly cut me off, saying, "Just have your family there," without even letting me finish. I was shocked by how cold they were. I simply said, "I understand," though I was angry and sad. At the funeral, many people came because my dad had many connections. They all showed how much he was loved. When I saw my mother, she was shocked by how much weight I had lost. She asked if I was sick, worried that I might be seriously ill. I assured her I was fine, but the stress of everything had taken a toll on me. After calming her down, I decided to tell her the truth about what had been happening at home. I explained how my mother-in-law had been treating me, and how I had been feeling exhausted. I told her it was like being bullied by my in-laws. She gave me a piece of paper, my father's will. It said that I was going to inherit $790,000. The money was mine to decide how to use. I was stunned by the amount but also felt hopeful. With this inheritance, I could finally leave my in-laws' house and build a life for myself away from the stress. When I got back home, I did the usual chores, thinking about the money and my desire to leave. I wanted to talk to Mason about it. That night, when we were alone, I brought up the inheritance. When I told him how much I was inheriting, he was shocked but happy. Then, before I could suggest anything, he said something that shocked me even more. "We need to transfer that money to my mom's bank account." I was confused. "Why? I inherited it, so it's mine." He got angry and slammed his hand on the table, saying, "A wife's money belongs to her mother-in-law." I couldn't believe what he was saying. I was scared. The next morning, both Mason and his mom approached me, demanding that I give them the inheritance money. "But it's mine," I protested. They insisted I transfer it to my mother-in-law's account. It felt like they were determined to take it, no matter what. I was so tired of fighting. Then Mason showed me a divorce paper and said, "If you don't change your mind, I'll divorce you." He had already signed the divorce papers. He told me to go back to my parents' house, and if I apologized, he might reconsider. I was stunned, holding the divorce form, realizing that I had never truly been supported in this house. I had been paying my share of living expenses and doing all the housework, yet Mason and his mother always looked down on me. They even tried to take my father's inheritance. I knew that if I stayed, I might give in to their pressure and hand over the money, but this inheritance was my father's gift to me, and I wasn't going to let them take it. With the signed divorce papers in my hand, I realized I now had control over my future. I swore to myself that I wouldn't give up the inheritance and made up my mind to act. After work that day, I went to my mother's house. "Welcome home, sweetie," my mother greeted me with a warm smile. She had made a home-cooked meal, and I was so moved by the taste of her food. It had been so long since I had enjoyed a meal prepared by someone else. As I ate, I cried because it tasted so good. I told my mother about everything that had happened with Mason and his mom. She was shocked, but told me, "The inheritance is yours, and you have the right to decide how to live your life from now on." She comforted me as I cried. After staying with my mom for a week, I decided to go back to my in-laws' house. "Well, I'm going now," I said. "Take care," my mother replied. I was no longer afraid of going back. With a clearer mind, I returned to my in-laws' house. Mason and his mother were waiting for me, arms crossed. "Have you thought about what you did?" they asked. "Yes, I'm sorry. Please let me live here again," I apologized, but it was insincere. My mother-in-law smirked. "Then hurry up and give us the inheritance," she demanded. I lied and told them the inheritance process was taking longer than expected, that it could take up to 6 months or more. They seemed satisfied, thinking I would eventually give them the money. As soon as I returned, they started criticizing me for the house being messy. "You didn't do your duties as a wife. Clean up quickly." The house had only been messy for a week, but it was filthy. It was impressive how dirty it had gotten in such a short time. The old me would have been devastated by the state of the house, but now, I didn't care. I just did what they asked without complaining. 10 months later, it was my mother-in-law's birthday. As usual, she was going on a trip, and of course, they didn't take me with them. "Have you received the inheritance yet?" my mother-in-law asked. "It should arrive today," I lied. "Well, that's perfect. The $790,000 is a gift for my mom. Make sure to transfer it to her account before we return." I knew the inheritance wouldn't arrive so soon, but I didn't say anything. I just smiled and saw them off, saying, "Take care and have a safe trip." Once they were gone, I finally put my plan into motion. I had been waiting for this moment for a long time. They would be shocked when they came back, but it no longer mattered to me. I quickly packed my things and moved out of my in-laws' house. Using my father's inheritance, I built a beautiful new home. I invited my mother to live with me, and we were both so happy to finally be free from the constant stress. That night, we celebrated our new home with a special meal prepared by a chef. The next day, I got a call from my ex-husband. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked, confused because all my things were gone. "I'm not coming back. Goodbye." I tried to hang up, but I could hear my mother-in-law yelling on the other end. "What do you think you're doing? Where are you?" she screamed. "I don't need to answer that. You told me to clean the house, so I packed my things. It's not funny. And by the way, you still haven't transferred the inheritance. How many times do I have to tell you that your money is mine?" she shouted. "I'm single now," I said. When I said that, my mother-in-law went silent. "I'm divorced. I signed the divorce papers Mason gave me. We're strangers now. Goodbye." I hung up, laughing as I felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. After that, my ex-husband called many times. When I had the chance, I answered and let him and my mother-in-law yell at me. I recorded those calls to use as evidence of their harassment. I knew it wasn't uncommon for ex-husbands to be abusive, and I planned to report them to the police. The police acted quickly, visiting my ex-in-law's house to issue a warning. It was embarrassing for them, especially since my ex-husband had a high position at work. His colleagues, who didn't like him, spread rumors about him. Eventually, even people from my work heard about it. I told my colleagues, yeah, I'm divorced. The bullying from my mother-in-law and my ex-husband's abuse was too much. I made sure others overheard, and soon, the gossip spread further. My ex-husband's boss heard about it and wasn't happy. "You've got a lot of bad rumors going around," his boss said. "I decided to transfer you." His transfer was to a branch with the worst performance, a remote area with no entertainment or anything fun. It was clear that his career had fallen apart, and there was no chance for promotion anymore. As for my ex-mother-in-law, she was devastated by her son's fall from grace. She became reclusive and eventually developed depression. It seemed she also had dementia and often caused disturbances at home. My ex-father-in-law had to care for her, despite their strained relationship. It felt like justice for everything they had put me through. Now, my mom and I are living happily together. We even started gardening in our spacious yard, something I never would have done if I was still in that house. Gardening has become a new hobby that has brought me joy and health, something I didn't have before due to the stress. I'm so happy to have cut ties with my ex-in-laws and to be living a peaceful, fulfilling life now.
I never expected revenge to arrive gift-wrapped in a merger and acquisition report. But there it was on my desk at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. My company had just acquired Hoffman Industries, the very firm where my ex-husband Anton and my dear cousin Trinity had been working for the past 3 years. Life has a twisted sense of humor sometimes. My name is Marissa, and 5 years ago, these two people destroyed everything I had built. Now, by some cosmic joke, they were about to become my employees. Did you see the personnel list? Juliet, my assistant, poked her head into my office, her expression a mix of concern and barely contained excitement. She'd been there through it all, watching me rebuild from nothing. I did. I kept my voice steady, though my hands were shaking as I set down my coffee mug. Quite the surprise, isn't it? Surprise? It's karma wrapped in a business deal. They're going to flip when they find out you're their new boss. The memory of that family reunion 5 years ago crashed over me like a wave. I could still see Trinity's face, tear-streaked and guilty, as she confessed everything. How she and Anton had been seeing each other for months. How they'd planned it all. The gradual draining of our joint accounts, the fabricated business losses, the perfectly timed divorce filing that left me with nothing but debt and broken trust. "Ms. Clayton," Edgar Hoffman's gravelly voice interrupted my thoughts as he appeared in my doorway. "Do you have a moment to discuss the transition?" I gestured for him to enter, noting how his expensive suit couldn't quite hide his discomfort. He'd sold his company to me for a reason, and I had a feeling I was about to find out why. "I assume you've noticed some familiar names in the employee roster," he said, settling into the chair across from me. "Hard to miss your own ex-husband and cousin," I replied dryly. Edgar shifted uncomfortably. "I should mention that Anton has been problematic lately. His department's numbers don't add up, and there are discrepancies I can't explain. It's part of why I decided to sell." My phone buzzed with a text from Prudence, my mentor. "Heard the news. This is your chance. Don't waste it." "What exactly are you suggesting, Edgar?" I leaned forward, studying his face. "I'm suggesting that karma might need a little push." He pulled out a folder and placed it on my desk. "This contains everything I've gathered on Anton's activities over the past year. Use it however you see fit." As he left, Juliet returned with more coffee and a concerned look. "Trinity's online too, says it's urgent." My heart jumped to my throat. "Put her through." "Marissa?" Trinity's voice was small, afraid. "I just heard about the acquisition. We need to talk. There are things you don't know about Anton, about what really happened." 5 years too late for explanations, don't you think? "Please," she whispered. "It's not what you think. I made terrible mistakes, but there's more to the story. Anton, he's not done hurting people. You need to know the truth before—" The line went dead. I sat there, staring at the phone, while Juliet watched me with worried eyes. "What are you going to do?" Looking down at Edgar's folder, then at the merger documents that had started this all, I felt a smile creep across my face. I'm going to do what I do best, run this company. If that happens to make certain people uncomfortable, well, that's just business, isn't it? My computer pinged with a new email. Anonymous sender, subject line. What you don't know about Prudence Hill. Juliet! I called out as she turned to leave. Cancel my afternoon meetings. Looks like we have some digging to do. She grinned, already pulling out her tablet. Finally, some excitement around here. As I opened the email, I couldn't help but think about how I'd built my company focusing on women's empowerment, helping others find their strength after betrayal. Now here I was, faced with the ultimate test of my own principles. Would I choose revenge, or would I rise above it? The answer, I suspected, lay somewhere in Edgar's folder and this mysterious email. Either way, Anton and Trinity were about to learn what happens when you underestimate the woman you left behind. I picked up my phone and texted Prudence back. Meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m. Bring everything you know about Anton's current projects. The response came instantly. Time to make them pay? I stared at her message for a long moment before replying. Time to uncover the truth, all of it. Whatever game was being played here, I had a feeling I was no longer just a pawn. The question was, who else was moving pieces on this board? The click of my heels echoed through Hoffman Industries' lobby as I walked in for the first transition meeting. Heads turned, whispers followed, and I caught the exact moment Anton recognized me, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth, face draining of color. Welcome to your new workplace, I announced to the gathered employees, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I'm Marissa, CEO of Empower Solutions, and as of today, your new boss. Trinity, standing in the back corner, looked like she might faint. Good. Ms. Clayton, Xander, Anton's business partner, stepped forward with an extended hand. We've heard impressive things about your leadership style. His smile seemed genuine, but there was something calculating in his eyes. Thank you. I believe in transparency and direct communication, I said, looking straight at Anton. Speaking of which, department heads, my office in 15 minutes. As the crowd dispersed, Juliet appeared at my elbow. Prudence is waiting in the conference room with those files you requested. Tell her I'll be there shortly. And Juliet, keep an eye on Trinity. She looks ready to bolt. I'd barely reached the elevator when Anton caught up with me. Marissa, wait! That's Miss Clayton to you. I cut him off, stepping into the elevator. To my annoyance, he followed. You can't just walk in here and... Actually, I can. I own this company now. But don't worry, your position is safe. I smiled sweetly. For now. The elevator doors opened to reveal Trinity waiting in the hallway. Marissa, please, can we talk? Office hours are between 9 and 5. Schedule it with my assistant. I walked past her, but her next words stopped me cold. It's about Edgar. He's not who you think he is. I turned slowly. You have 2 minutes. Trinity glanced nervously at Anton, who stood watching us with clenched fists. Not here, not with him around. My office, now. I led them both inside, where Prudence was already waiting with a stack of folders. Well, isn't this cozy? Prudence remarked dryly. Shall I stay? Please do. I sat behind my desk, studying the 3 faces before me. Talk. Trinity took a shaky breath. Edgar's been manipulating company finances for years. Anton discovered it 6 months ago, but Edgar threatened to frame him if he spoke up. That's convenient, I said, opening one of Edgar's folders. Because according to these records, Anton's been doing some creative accounting himself. Those documents are fake, Anton snapped. Edgar set me up. Like you set me up 5 years ago? The words came out sharper than intended. That wasn't, Anton started, but my phone buzzed with another anonymous email. Check Prudence's laptop. Folder marked Project Phoenix. Password, Revenge 9985. I glanced at Prudence, who was suddenly very interested in her phone. Everyone out, I ordered. Except you, Prudence. We need to talk. As Anton and Trinity left, Xander appeared in the doorway. Bad time? Actually, your timing is perfect. Come in. I turned to Prudence. Would you mind if I borrowed your laptop? There's something I need to verify. She hesitated just a fraction too long. Of course not. Interesting, Xander mused, watching the exchange. You might want to see this first. He placed a USB drive on my desk. Security footage from last week shows some rather interesting late-night meetings between certain parties. My phone buzzed again. Don't trust anyone. Meeting tonight, 8 p.m., Carter's Cafe. Come alone. Prudence, I said carefully, why don't we reschedule our meeting? I'm sure you have plenty to handle with the transition. She gathered her things, face unreadable. Of course, but Marissa, remember who helped you rebuild when you had nothing? After she left, Xander leaned forward. You've stepped into a snake pit. So I'm gathering. The question is, which snake bit first? He smiled grimly. That's what makes it interesting, isn't it? By the way, Trinity's been trying to resign for months. Edgar wouldn't let her. Why? That's the million-dollar question. He stood to leave. Watch your back, Marissa. Not everyone here is what they seem. After he left, I opened my email to find another anonymous message. Prudence Hill has been working with Edgar for years. But that's not the worst of it. Tonight, I'll tell you everything. I stared at the message, then at the USB drive Xander had left. Something bigger was at play here, something that went beyond my personal vendetta against Anton and Trinity. Juliet poked her head in. Your next meeting's in 5 minutes. Also, Trinity left this for you. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a single photo from that family reunion 5 years ago. Me, Trinity, and Anton, all smiling. On the back was written, Things aren't always what they seem. I'm sorry for more than you know. I tucked the photo into my desk drawer. 8 hours until my meeting with the anonymous emailer. 8 hours to decide who to trust. If anyone. Carter's Cafe was nearly empty when I arrived at 7:55 p.m. The barista pointed me toward a corner booth, where, to my surprise, Edgar sat nursing a coffee. You're the anonymous emailer? I slid into the seat across from him. No. He pushed a manila envelope across the table. But I know who is. And after tonight, so will you. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a text from Juliet. Urgent. Someone's accessing confidential files from Prudence's computer right now. Excuse me. I stood up, but Edgar grabbed my wrist. Wait. There's something you need to see first. He nodded toward the envelope. I sat back down and opened it. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Prudence meeting with Edgar at various locations over the past year. Trinity looking terrified while Edgar handed her something. Anton and Prudence having what appeared to be a heated argument outside a restaurant. What is this? Insurance, Edgar said quietly. Against what's about to happen. My phone buzzed again. This time from an unknown number. Don't trust Edgar. Check the cafe's kitchen. I looked up sharply. Why did you really sell your company? Because... A crash from the kitchen interrupted him. We both turned to see Xander stumbling out, clutching his side. He's got a gun, Xander gasped, collapsing into a nearby chair. Back door. I ran toward the kitchen, pushing through the swinging doors, just in time to see a figure disappearing through the exit. On the floor lay a laptop, Prudence's laptop. Stop! I shouted, but by the time I reached the door, they were gone. My phone rang. Juliet again. Prudence just called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. She's trying to contest the acquisition. I returned to find Edgar gone, and Xander making a call. Police are on their way, he said, wincing. Just got knocked around a bit, I'm fine. But you need to see what's on that laptop. We opened it to find a single document open, Project Phoenix. My hands shook as I read through emails between Prudence and Edgar dating back 6 years. Before my divorce. Before everything. They planned it all, I whispered. The divorce, the company sale, everything. Keep reading, Xander urged. The next email made my blood run cold. It was from Prudence to Edgar. Marissa's perfect for this. Once Anton leaves her, she'll be desperate enough to accept any help. We'll build her up just to take everything in the end. The ultimate revenge against her father for what he did to us. My father? What does he have to do with this? A lot, apparently. Trinity's voice made us both jump. She stood in the doorway, looking exhausted. I've been trying to tell you. Prudence and Edgar were business partners with your father 20 years ago. He caught them embezzling and turned them in. Edgar went to prison. Prudence lost everything. And you know this how? Xander asked. Because they've been blackmailing me with it. My father helped cover up their original crime. They threatened to expose him if I didn't help them get to you through Anton. My phone buzzed with another anonymous message. Now you know why. Meeting tomorrow, 7 a.m., your office. Bring the laptop. The police will want to see this, Xander said. No, I replied firmly. Not yet. First, I want to hear what our mystery emailer has to say. I turned to Trinity. You're coming clean about everything tomorrow. No more secrets. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I never wanted to hurt you. Anton didn't either, not really. We were both just pawns in their game. Speaking of Anton, Xander checked his phone. He just texted me. Prudence called him in for a private meeting tonight. Let me guess. She's offering him a deal to testify against me at tomorrow's board meeting? Probably. What are you going to do? I picked up Prudence's laptop and the envelope of photos. I'm going to do what I should have done 5 years ago. Fight back. As if on cue, my phone lit up with texts from both Anton and Prudence. Anton, we need to talk. It's not what you think. Prudence, don't do anything rash, dear. Remember who your real friends are. I showed the messages to Xander and Trinity. Looks like everyone's choosing sides. And which side are you on? Xander asked carefully. I thought about the photos, the emails, the years of manipulation. I'm on the side of truth. Tomorrow morning, everything comes out. Every last dirty secret. Trinity touched my arm gently. Be careful. They've spent years planning this. So have I replied. I just didn't know it until now. As we left the cafe, police sirens wailing in the distance, I couldn't help but wonder, who would be left standing when the dust settled? The answer would come sooner than any of us expected. I arrived at my office at 6:45 a.m., coffee in hand, to find Anton already waiting outside my door. His usually immaculate appearance was disheveled, like he hadn't slept. Don't say anything, he blurted as I approached. Just look. He handed me his phone, showing a recording of his meeting with Prudence from the night before. In the video, Prudence sat behind her desk, calm and collected. It's simple, Anton. Either you help me take her down, or I release proof that you knew about the embezzlement all along. But I didn't know anything. Doesn't matter. I have documents that say you did. Your choice. I handed the phone back. Why are you showing me this? Because I'm done being their puppet. He ran a hand through his hair. What happened 5 years ago? It wasn't all what you think. Prudence approached me first, showed me fake evidence that you were stealing from the company. I was stupid enough to believe her. And Trinity? They used her to drive us apart. Said they'd destroy her father if she didn't play along. He checked his watch. She's meeting with the board right now, telling them everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Juliet. Prudence just arrived with 2 lawyers. Edgar's here too. Time to end this, I muttered, unlocking my office door. Inside, sitting calmly at my desk, was an elderly man I hadn't seen in 15 years. Hello, sweetheart, my father said quietly. What are you? I'm the anonymous emailer. He stood slowly. I've been tracking Prudence and Edgar for years, gathering evidence. When I heard they were targeting you, I had to act. You could have warned me 5 years ago, I said coldly. I tried. The night before Anton left, I came to your house. Prudence was there. She told you I was drunk, trying to cause trouble. Remember? I did remember. I'd turned him away. The door burst open, and Xander rushed in. They're calling an emergency vote to remove you as CEO. Right now. Like hell they are. I grabbed Prudence's laptop and the envelope of photos. Dad, you coming? He smiled. Wouldn't miss it. The boardroom was packed. Prudence stood at the head of the table, Edgar beside her, both looking supremely confident. Trinity sat in the corner, pale but determined. The board members watched in confused silence as we entered. Perfect timing, Prudence smiled. We were just discussing your removal for corporate espionage. Funny, I set the laptop on the table. I was about to discuss yours. You can't prove anything, Edgar snapped. Actually, my father stepped forward. We can prove everything. Prudence's face went white. Richard, you're supposed to be dead? He smiled grimly. Sorry to disappoint. I've been watching you destroy lives for too long. I connected the laptop to the projector. Let's start with Project Phoenix, shall we? Your grand plan for revenge against my father by destroying his daughter? It's all lies, Prudence declared, but her voice shook. The police have copies of everything, Xander announced, including the recording of you threatening Anton last night. Trinity stood up. I've already given my statement about the blackmail. As have I, Edgar said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. I'm tired, he continued. Prudence, it's over. I already signed a full confession this morning. You what? Prudence shrieked, lunging for him. 2 security guards I hadn't noticed stepped forward to restrain her. The SEC has been investigating for months, my father explained. Edgar chose to cooperate in exchange for leniency. I turned to the board members. Every document is in the folders in front of you. Take your time reviewing them. I'll be in my office. As I turned to leave, Prudence called out, You have no idea what your father did to us. No, I replied, but I know what you did to me. The difference is, I'm choosing to end the cycle of revenge. Back in my office, Anton waited with Juliet. The police are here, Juliet announced. They want statements from everyone. Tell them we're ready, I looked at Anton. All of us. He nodded. For what it's worth, I'm sorry, for everything. I know. I surprised myself by meaning it. We were all manipulated, but it ends today. My father touched my shoulder. You did good, kid. Better than I ever did. We're not done yet, I said, watching through my office window as Prudence was led away in handcuffs. The real work, rebuilding trust, healing relationships, that's just beginning. Speaking of which, Juliet interrupted, the board wants to meet again tomorrow. Something about discussing the company's new direction. I smiled. Tell them I look forward to it. After all, this company was built on empowerment and second chances. Maybe it's time we lived up to that. As everyone filed out to talk to the police, I sat at my desk, looking at that old photo Trinity had given me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's breaking free from the cycle that trapped you in the first place. My phone buzzed one last time. Proud of you, daughter. Coffee soon? For the first time in years, I replied, yes. The morning after Prudence's arrest, I found Trinity waiting in my office, clutching a thick manila folder. There's more, she said without preamble. Prudence kept records of everything. I found these in her private safe after the police left. I took the folder, my coffee forgotten on the desk. Inside were photos, documents, and emails dating back 20 years. How did you get into her safe? She made me memorize the combination years ago. Insurance, she called it. Trinity's hands trembled. But that's not the worst part. Look at the last page. The document was dated just 3 days ago. A contract between Prudence and someone named Marcus, agreeing to transfer millions in company assets to offshore accounts. Who's Marcus? I asked. That would be me, a voice said from the doorway. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped in, followed by Xander. Marcus Reynolds, FBI. We've been tracking Prudence's network for years. You're kidding, I said flatly. I wish. Xander closed the door. Marcus contacted me 6 months ago. That's why I've been playing both sides. My phone buzzed. A text from Anton. Don't trust Marcus. Meeting in parking garage now. Urgent. Excuse me, I stood up. I need some air. Trinity grabbed my arm. Don't go alone. I'll be fine. Just keep our guests entertained. The parking garage was dim and eerily quiet. Anton stood by my car, looking nervous. "Marcus isn't FBI," he said as soon as I approached. "He's Prudence's son." "What?" "That's why she did all this. Not just revenge against your father. She was building an empire for her son. I found proof in Edgar's office last night." A car engine roared to life somewhere in the garage. "We need to go." Anton grabbed my hand. "Now!" We ran toward the exit, but a black SUV screeched to a stop in front of us. Marcus stepped out, pointing a gun. "Going somewhere?" "Actually, yes." Juliet's voice rang out as she emerged from behind a pillar, phone held high. "And this is all being live-streamed to the real FBI." Marcus spun around, but it was too late. Police cars flooded the garage, lights flashing. "Drop the weapon!" an officer shouted. Back in my office an hour later, I watched Marcus being led away in handcuffs while Detective Sarah Rivera took our statements. "We've been building this case for months," she explained. "Prudence's network goes deeper than anyone realized. Marcus was handling all the international accounts." "But how did you know he'd be here today?" I asked. Juliet grinned. "Remember that security system upgrade I insisted on last week? Every conversation in this building has been monitored by the FBI. And I've been feeding them information," Xander added. "The real FBI approached me long before Marcus did." Trinity sat heavily in a chair. "So it's really over?" "Almost," my father said, walking in. "There's still the matter of the board meeting in an hour. They'll want answers." "They'll get them," I promised. "Complete transparency from now on." Anton cleared his throat. "About that, there's something else you should know. The night I left, Prudence showed me documents proving that your father was embezzling from his company." "Those were forgeries," my father interrupted. "But they were convincing enough that even I questioned my own records for a while." "That's why you disappeared," I realized. "You were gathering evidence to clear your name. And to protect you, though I failed at that part." "No," I touched his arm. "You helped end it. That counts for something." My phone buzzed with a message from the board. "Meeting moved up. 15 minutes. "Ready to face them?" Juliet asked. Actually, I looked around the room at Anton, Trinity, my father, and the others. "I think we all need to face them. Together." The boardroom fell silent as we filed in. I took my place at the head of the table, the others flanking me. "Before we begin," I addressed the board, "you should know that everything that's happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly, has taught me something crucial about leadership. It's not about revenge or power. It's about breaking cycles of hurt and creating something better." "And how do you propose to do that?" one board member asked. I smiled. "By telling you the whole truth from the beginning. No more secrets, no more hidden agendas. Just honest business focused on genuine empowerment." "Starting with this," Anton stepped forward, placing a folder on the table. "My resignation, but also my full cooperation with any investigation." Trinity placed another folder beside it. "Mine too, along with everything I know about Prudence's operations." The board members exchanged looks. "Well," the chairman finally spoke, "it seems we have a lot to discuss." "Yes," I agreed, "we do. And this time, we're going to do it right." As the meeting began, I caught my father's proud smile from across the room. Sometimes the hardest part of healing isn't exposing the truth. It's learning to trust again after the truth comes out. "You need to see this." Juliet burst into my office 2 days after the board meeting, waving a tablet. "Prudence's prison call logs. She's been contacting someone every hour on the hour." I took the tablet, scanning the numbers. "These are all international calls. To a private bank in Switzerland," Xander added, walking in. "The FBI traced them. There's still money missing. Millions." My father appeared in the doorway. "And I think I know where it is." He held up an old photograph. "Remember your mother's art gallery? The one that mysteriously burned down when I was 12? I stood up. "What about it?" Men, it didn't burn down by accident. Prudence arranged it. Insurance fraud. Your mother's signature was forged on documents transferring ownership of several paintings to a private collector. Let me guess, I said. The collector was Marcus. Close. It was his father. My father placed the photo on my desk. Prudence's first husband. Trinity rushed in, breathless. Anton's gone. What do you mean, gone? He left this morning for a meeting with the FBI and never showed up. His phone's off, and his apartment's been cleared out. My phone rang. Detective Rivera. Anton just turned himself in, she said without preamble. He's offering evidence about art forgeries dating back 20 years. Says it involves your mother's gallery. I put the phone on speaker. We were just discussing that. What kind of evidence? Shipping manifests, bank transfers, insurance claims. He says Prudence has been using forged artwork as collateral for loans. The real paintings are in a vault somewhere. Switzerland, Xander cut in. That's what the calls are about. She's trying to move them. I know where, my father said quietly. Your mother told me before she died. There's a private vault in Geneva. She discovered it right before the gallery fire. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because Prudence threatened to hurt you if I did. After your mother's death, I couldn't risk it. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Vault 247, passcode 031285. Hurry. That's my birthday, I whispered. It's a trap, Juliet warned. Probably, I agreed, but it's also our only lead. I'm coming with you, Trinity declared. We all are, Xander added. Detective Rivera's voice crackled through the speaker. I can have Interpol meet you there. When do you want to move? I looked at my father. How fast can you get us to Switzerland? My private jet's fueled and ready. I've been waiting for this moment for 20 years. 6 hours later, we stood outside the private vault facility in Geneva. Interpol agents positioned themselves discreetly around the building, while Detective Rivera coordinated with local authorities. Ready? My father asked. I entered the code. The vault door clicked open. Inside, instead of paintings, we found Marcus sitting calmly at a table. Took you long enough, he smiled. Mother said you'd figure it out eventually. Where are the paintings? I demanded. Safe, like Anton, like everything else we've worked for. It's over, Marcus. Detective Rivera stepped in, gun drawn. We have Anton's evidence. Do you? He slid a phone across the table. Call him. I dialed Anton's number. A phone rang somewhere in the building. Down here, Trinity called from the hallway. We found Anton in another vault, tied to a chair, but unharmed. I'm sorry, he said as we untied him. They grabbed me outside the FBI office. Marcus said he'd hurt Trinity if I didn't cooperate. The paintings? My father pressed. In there. Anton pointed to a large safe. But you need Prudence's fingerprint to open it. No, I smiled. We don't. I pulled out the photo my father had shown me earlier. We just need this. What's so special about that photo? Marcus demanded. Look at the frame, my father said. Your mother's fingerprints, preserved in the original varnish, from the day she stole it from my wife's gallery. Detective Rivera held up a portable scanner. Shall we? The safe clicked open, revealing dozens of carefully wrapped paintings. My mother's collection, I breathed. All of it. And proof of every fraud Prudence ever committed, my father added. She kept records with each painting. Marcus lunged for the door, but Xander was faster, tackling him to the ground. You know what the funny thing is? I told Marcus as Interpol agents cuffed him. None of this was necessary. 20 years of revenge, manipulation, and crime. For what? The gallery was already successful. The paintings were already valuable. You don't understand, he spat. It was never about the money. It was about making your family suffer like mine did. No, my father said quietly. It was about your mother's bitterness destroying everything she touched, including you. As we watched Marcus being led away, Trinity touched my arm. What happens now? I looked at the paintings, at Anton's apologetic face, at my father's tired eyes. Now we restore what was stolen, not just the art, but the truth. And then we move forward. Together? She asked hesitantly. Together, I confirmed. All of us. Sometimes the greatest treasures aren't found in vaults. They're found in the moments when truth finally sets everyone free. 1 month after the Switzerland incident, I stood in my mother's restored gallery, now filled with the recovered paintings. The grand reopening was scheduled for tomorrow, but tonight was just for family, whatever that meant now. The insurance company finally settled, Juliet announced, handing me a check. Full value of the original claim, plus 20 years of interest. Donate it, I decided, to art education programs. Mom would have liked that. Speaking of donations, Trinity walked in carrying a large canvas. Look what I found in Anton's storage unit. My breath caught. It was my mother's self-portrait, the one I thought had burned in the fire. She was beautiful, Anton said softly from the doorway. I've been keeping it safe since that night. Prudence ordered me to destroy it, but I couldn't. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I didn't deserve your forgiveness yet. He stepped forward. Maybe I still don't. That's not your call to make, my father interrupted, joining us. Forgiveness isn't earned, it's given. Your mother taught me that, he added, looking at me. The gallery door chimed. Detective Rivera entered with a thick folder. Prudence's sentencing is tomorrow, she announced, but there's something you should see first. She laid out several photographs on a nearby table. These were found in Marcus's apartment. The photos showed my mother with Marcus's father, laughing, embracing. They were having an affair, Detective Rivera explained, until your mother ended it and married your father instead. So this whole thing, I started, was Prudence's revenge for a love triangle from 30 years ago, my father finished. She married Marcus's father on the rebound, then spent decades plotting her revenge after he died. That's insane, Trinity whispered. That's human, Xander corrected, examining one of the photos. Love and hate are closer than we think. My phone buzzed. A message from the prison. Prudence requests a meeting before tomorrow's sentencing. Don't go, Anton warned. She's manipulative until the end. I have to, I replied. For closure. Then we're coming with you, Trinity declared. The prison visiting room was cold and sterile. Prudence sat waiting, her designer clothes replaced by an orange jumpsuit. My, quite the audience, she remarked as we all filed in. Say what you need to say, I told her. I just wanted you to know, I did love your mother once. We were friends before she met Marcus's father. Before she stole him from me. She didn't steal anyone, my father cut in. She made a choice. A choice that destroyed lives, Prudence snapped. I lost everything. No, I leaned forward. You threw everything away. Every relationship, every opportunity for happiness. You poisoned it all with revenge. And what about you? She challenged. Aren't you here for revenge too? I'm here for truth. There's a difference. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is, you're just like me. We both built companies from nothing after betrayal. But that's where the similarity ends, Trinity spoke up. Marissa built something real. You just built more lies. Prudence's face hardened. You ungrateful little... That's enough, Detective Rivera interrupted. Time's up. As we turned to leave, Prudence called out, The paintings aren't worth what you think. I turned back. They're worth exactly what my mother always said. They're worth the truth they tell. And now, finally, they're telling the whole story. Back at the gallery, we gathered around my mother's self-portrait. Where should we hang it? Juliet asked. Right here, I pointed to the entrance wall, where everyone can see it first. No more hiding. To truth. Anton raised his coffee cup. To new beginnings, Trinity added. To family, my father said, putting his arm around me. The one we choose. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from the board. Emergency meeting tomorrow after the sentencing. Time to discuss the company's future. They want to know if you're keeping Anton and Trinity on, Xander guessed. No, I smiled. They want to know if I'm accepting the chairperson position. Apparently, running 2 successful companies while exposing a decades-old conspiracy makes for a pretty impressive resume. And are you? Juliet asked. I looked around at these people, who had become my strange, complicated family, at the paintings that told our story of loss, betrayal, and redemption. Yes, I decided, but on one condition: we do it together. All of us. Even me? Anton asked quietly. And especially you, because the only way to truly break a cycle of revenge is to build something better in its place. As we raised our cups to toast the future, I caught my reflection in my mother's portrait. For the first time in years, I recognized her smile in my own. Tomorrow would bring Prudence's sentencing, a gallery opening, and a new chapter for the company. But tonight was about something simpler: the quiet victory of choosing love over revenge, truth over deception, and family over everything else. Sometimes the best revenge really is living well, but only if you're willing to let go of revenge altogether. The gavel struck with finality as the judge delivered Prudence's sentence: 20 years without parole. As the courtroom cleared, Detective Rivera handed me an envelope. Found this in Marcus's apartment. Thought you should have it. Inside was a letter from my mother to Prudence, dated just days before the gallery fire. I forgive you. Whatever happens next, remember that. My hands trembled as I read it. She knew what Prudence was planning. Your mother always saw the best in people, my father said softly, even when they couldn't see it in themselves. The gallery opening was scheduled for that evening. As we left the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Ms. Clayton, what's next for Empower Solutions? Will Anton remain with the company? Any comment on Prudence's sentencing? I faced the cameras. Tonight isn't about business or revenge. It's about art, truth, and second chances. Join us at the gallery opening and see for yourself. Trinity touched my arm. Prudence asked to see you one last time. No, I said firmly. Her story with us is finished. It's time to write our own. The gallery hummed with excitement that evening. Art collectors, business leaders, and media filled the rooms, but my attention was on the small group gathered around my mother's self-portrait. I remember when she painted this, Anton said quietly. She told me to keep it safe, no matter what happened. I didn't understand then. But you protected it anyway, I replied. That counts for something. Speaking of protection, Xander approached with a tablet. The board just voted unanimously. The merger's complete, and they've approved your new leadership structure. All of it? Trinity asked. All of it. Joint leadership, profit sharing with employees, the education foundation, everything. My father raised his glass. To new beginnings. Wait, Juliet interrupted. There's something else you need to see first. She led us to a hidden panel behind my mother's portrait. Inside was a small journal and a USB drive. Your mother left instructions, my father explained. This was only to be opened when the paintings returned home. The journal contained detailed accounts of everything: the affair, Prudence's initial threats, the insurance fraud scheme. But it was the final entry that caught my breath. To my daughter, don't let bitterness win. Success isn't about revenge. It's about rising above what broke you. Build something beautiful from the ashes. The USB drive contained video messages, my mother speaking directly to camera, documenting her suspicions and hopes for the future. Play the last one, Trinity urged. My mother's face filled the screen, her smile exactly as I remembered. Say, if you're watching this, the truth has finally come out. Remember that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the strongest choice you can make. And Marissa, darling, I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Tears streamed down my face as the video ended. Anton squeezed my shoulder. She was right, about everything. I know. I wiped my eyes. Which is why we're doing this right. I climbed onto a nearby chair, clinking my glass for attention. Welcome, everyone. Tonight isn't just about recovering stolen art. It's about recovering lost truths and broken relationships. This gallery will now house the Restoration Foundation, dedicated to supporting artists and healing through art therapy. Applause filled the room. Additionally, I continued, Empower Solutions and the former Hoffman Industries will merge under a new name, Phoenix Rising Partners. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is rise above our past and help others do the same. Trinity stepped forward. The Foundation's first project launches next week, art therapy programs in women's prisons. Including where Prudence is, Anton added quietly. Especially there, I nodded. Because healing has to start somewhere. As the crowd dispersed to explore the gallery, Detective Rivera approached with news. Marcus took a plea deal. He's giving up everything he knows about the international art fraud ring. Good, my father said. Let him find his own path to redemption. Juliet appeared with contracts. Ready to make it official? I looked at our unlikely family, Anton, Trinity, Xander, my father, Juliet, each carrying their own stories of redemption. Actually, I set down the contracts. First, I want to show you something. I led them to a new painting I'd commissioned, a phoenix rising from ashes, but looking back with compassion at its former self. This is who we are now, I said, not defined by what broke us, but by how we chose to rebuild. Together, Trinity added. Together, we all echoed. The gallery lights dimmed, highlighting the paintings that had sparked so much pain and healing. My mother's portrait seemed to smile down at us, her final message echoing in my heart. Success isn't about revenge. It's about rising above what broke you. And that's exactly what we did.
The email from HR sat unopened in my inbox for 3 hours. I'd been staring at it between batches of laundry, between helping Noah with his math homework, between microwaving leftover mac and cheese that the kids wouldn't touch. My hands trembled as I finally clicked it open. My name is Taya, and exactly 1 year ago today, my husband of 10 years told me he'd found someone who understood him better. Her name was Sophia. She was 29, worked at his office, and apparently understood him so well that he packed his bags that same night. Mom, Noah took my iPad again. Sadie's voice pierced through my thoughts. Did not, came the predictable response from downstairs. I minimized the email and took a deep breath. Both of you, living room now. They trudged in, 8 and 6 years old respectively, wearing matching scowls that reminded me too much of their father. I settled the latest sibling dispute while my phone buzzed with a text from Angela. Did you open it yet? She wrote. About to. Kids fighting again. Girl, this could be your ticket out of retail hell. Read it. She wasn't wrong. The past year had been a blur of part-time jobs, mornings at the coffee shop, evenings at the mall, and late nights teaching myself to code while the kids slept. The coding had started as an escape, something to focus on besides the empty side of the bed and the dwindling bank account. But somewhere between JavaScript tutorials and Stack Overflow searches, I'd found something I was actually good at. Okay, guys, homework time, I announced, settling them at the kitchen table. 20 minutes, then we'll make dinner. Back at my laptop, I finally read the email from TechFront Solutions. The coding portfolio I'd submitted had caught someone's attention. They wanted an interview. My phone rang. Angela again. Well, she demanded. They want to meet me tomorrow at 2 p.m. Holy shit, Taya! This is huge! I glanced at the kids, lowering my voice. I can't do 2 p.m. I have a shift at the mall. Colin's sick. This is more important than folding sweaters at Gap. I need that job, Ang. You need a career. Your kids need their mom to stop working herself to death. Call. In. Sick. The truth in her words stung. Last week, I'd missed Sadie's soccer game because of a shift change. Noah had started asking why we couldn't go to the movies like his friends did. What if I'm not ready? I whispered. What if... Stop it, Angela cut in. You're ready. You're more than ready. You've been coding every night for months. Your GitHub looks amazing. Yes, I checked, even though I don't understand half of it. And you know what else? What? You're 10 times smarter than that asshole who left you for his child bride. I couldn't help but laugh. Sophia's 29. Whatever. Call them all. Take the interview. Show them what you can do. After hanging up, I stared at my reflection in the laptop screen. Dark circles under my eyes, hair desperately needing a trim. Weston had looked so satisfied when he'd told me about Sophia, like he was doing me a favor by being honest. "You've let yourself go," he'd said, as if that justified everything. I opened my phone and called my supervisor at the mall. "Janet? Hi, it's Taya. I hate to do this, but I'm not feeling well. Is there any way someone could cover my shift tomorrow afternoon?" The kids looked up from their homework, surprised. Mom never called in sick. After arranging the coverage, I opened my coding projects and started reviewing. The familiar syntax brought a calm I hadn't felt all day. In the code, everything made sense. Everything had a solution. "Mom?" Sadie appeared at my elbow. "Can we have pizza tonight?" I should say no. The budget was tight, and we had perfectly good leftovers. You know what? Yes, we can have pizza. Their cheers made me smile. I closed my laptop and pulled them both into a hug, breathing in the scent of their shampoo and the lingering sweetness of their afternoon snacks. "Mom's got a big day tomorrow," I told them. "Want to help me pick out what to wear?" As we raided my closet, pulling out the few professional pieces I'd kept from my married life, I felt something shift inside me. The email wasn't just an interview invitation. It was a lifeline, a chance to show my kids, and myself, that rock bottom wasn't our final destination. "This one," Sadie declared, holding up my navy blazer. "You look like a boss in this one." Out of the mouths of babes. "You know what, sweetie? I think you're right." "Tell me about your experience with full-stack development," Hugo said, leaning back in his chair. His office overlooked the city, all glass and modern furniture, nothing like the fluorescent-lit mall where I'd spent my mornings. I took a deep breath, remembering Angela's pep talk. "I've built several applications from scratch, focusing on React for the front end and Node.js for the back end. My latest project was a scheduling system for small businesses that—" "I've seen it," he interrupted, tapping his tablet. "Clean code, intuitive interface. What interests me is how you learned all this in less than a year." "Necessity," I answered honestly. "When my husband left, I needed a way out of retail. Coding gave me that focus." Hugo's expression softened slightly. "And the determination to learn while raising 2 kids alone? They're my motivation. Every line of code is one step closer to giving them the life they deserve." He nodded, standing up. "Welcome to TechFront, Taya. Vivienne will show you around." Just like that, my life changed. Vivienne turned out to be a tall woman with silver-streaked hair and a no-nonsense attitude. "First rule," she said as we walked through the open office space. "No overtime unless absolutely necessary. We value work-life balance here." I almost laughed. Work-life balance? I've been working 2 jobs and learning to code at midnight. This feels like a vacation. Trust me, it won't for long. We're growing fast, and there are rumors of a major merger. She stopped at an empty desk. "This is you. Team meeting in 10 minutes. Ready to dive in?" The next few weeks passed in a blur. During the day, I immersed myself in code reviews and development sprints. At night, I helped with homework and tried to maintain some semblance of normal family life. "Mom, you look different," Sadie said one evening as I made dinner. Actual home-cooked dinner, not microwaved leftovers. "Different how?" "Happier," she decided, setting the table without being asked. "And you're home more." The doorbell rang before I could respond. Angela burst in, waving her phone. "Have you seen the news?" "What news?" "TechFront is merging with Global Tech. It's all over the business sites." My stomach dropped. Global Tech, Weston's company. "Are you sure?" "Look!" She thrust her phone at me. The headline confirmed my worst fear. That night, after the kids were asleep, Angela and I sat on my couch with wine glasses in hand. "What are the chances he'll even know you work there?" she reasoned. Global tech is huge. But what if... No what ifs. You've earned this. Besides, she smirked, wouldn't it be perfect karma if you ended up outranking him? 3 months into my new job, Hugo called me into his office again. Your team's performance has been exceptional, he said without preamble. The merger's creating opportunities, and I'm restructuring the leadership team. How do you feel about taking on more responsibility? I blinked. What kind of responsibility? COO position. You'd oversee technical operations across both companies post-merger. My heart stopped. That would mean, yes, you'd be managing several divisions, including some from global tech. Problem? I thought about Weston, about his condescending smile when he'd left, about the nights I'd spent crying while teaching myself to code. No problem at all. That evening, Presley, one of my direct reports, stopped by my desk. Heard about the promotion. Not everyone's happy about it. Because I'm new? She shrugged. Because you're good. You're shaking things up, and some people don't like change. Thanks for the warning. It's not a warning, she smiled. It's a compliment. We need someone who isn't afraid to make waves. At home, I found Noah struggling with his tablet. Mom, it's broken again. I sat beside him, examining the device. Let's see. Just needs to clear the cache. Want to learn how to fix it yourself? His eyes lit up. Can I? Of course. First, we'll open settings. As I walked him through the steps, I realized how much had changed. 6 months ago, I'd been drowning in despair. Now, I was teaching my son basic troubleshooting while preparing to take on a role that would put me directly above my ex-husband in the corporate hierarchy. My phone buzzed with a message from Hugo. Meeting tomorrow to discuss merger details. Bring your restructuring ideas. I smiled, thinking of Angela's words about karma. Sometimes the best revenge isn't plotting it at all. It's simply becoming everything they said you couldn't be. The boardroom buzzed with nervous energy as Hugo introduced me to the merger transition team. Our new COO will oversee the technical integration of both companies, he announced, gesturing for me to take the floor. I stood, smoothing my blazer, the same one Sadie had picked for my interview. Let's talk about optimization, I began, clicking through my presentation. Our first priority is identifying redundancies and streamlining operations across all divisions. A hand shot up from the global tech side. What exactly do you mean by redundancies? Some departments are underperforming, I replied, pulling up a chart. Particularly in the legacy systems division. Weston's division. I hadn't seen him yet. He was based in another office, but I knew his team's metrics. They were abysmal. After the meeting, Vivian caught up with me in the hallway. That was bold, targeting the legacy division right out of the gate. The numbers don't lie, I said, checking my phone. A text from the kid's sitter. Noah has a fever. Everything okay? Vivian asked. My son's sick. I need to... Go, she insisted. I'll handle the afternoon meetings. At home, I found Noah curled up on the couch, his normally energetic face flushed with fever. Mommy, he mumbled as I pressed a cool cloth to his forehead. I'm here, baby. I kicked off my heels and settled beside him. Want to watch a movie? He nodded weakly, snuggling closer. As we watched his favorite superhero film, my phone kept buzzing with emails about the merger. I ignored them all. The next morning, after a sleepless night of fever watches, I dropped a recovered Noah at school and headed to the office. Presley was waiting at my desk. You need to see this, she said, handing me a tablet. The Legacy Division's response to your presentation. I scrolled through their defensive justification for their poor performance. At the bottom was a familiar signature, Weston, Division Director. They're claiming our metrics are skewed, Presley continued. But I double-checked everything. They're just scared. Good, I muttered, then caught myself. I mean, fear can motivate change. There's something else. Presley lowered her voice. Rumor has it their director is coming to headquarters next week to challenge the numbers in person. My stomach clenched. Next week? Tuesday. Want me to sit in? I shook my head. I can handle it. That evening, I called Angela. He's coming here, I said as soon as she answered. To my office, to challenge my authority. Perfect, she exclaimed. This is your moment. My moment to what? Reveal that his ex-wife is now his boss? That seems deliciously karmic, because it is. I sighed, watching Sadie help Noah with his reading across the room. What if I'm letting this get too personal? Honey, he made it personal when he walked out on you and the kids. You're just doing your job. Extremely well, I might add. Later that night, I received an email from Hugo. Board wants accelerated timeline on restructuring. Need comprehensive plan by end of month. I opened my laptop and pulled up the legacy division's files. Weston's team wasn't just underperforming, they were actively resistant to change. Their systems were outdated, their processes inefficient, and their costs excessive. My phone pinged with a calendar invite. Tuesday, 10 a.m., Legacy Division Performance Review. As I stared at the invite, another email arrived, this one misdirected from Global Tech's internal system. The sender, Sophia. The recipient, Weston. Baby, I know you're stressed about the merger, it read. But maybe this is a sign. You've been talking about wanting a change anyway. We could finally move away, start fresh. I closed the email quickly, feeling like I'd glimpsed something I shouldn't have. But the words stuck with me. Weston was unhappy? Thinking of leaving? The thought brought an unexpected smile to my face. Mom? Sadie's voice pulled me back to reality. Can you help me with my science project? We're supposed to make a volcano. I closed my laptop. Of course, sweetie. Let me guess. Baking soda and vinegar? As we gathered supplies from the kitchen, I realized something. A year ago, I would have been devastated to learn Weston was planning another escape. Now? Now I was planning something of my own. My phone buzzed again. Vivian. Teams behind you on the restructuring. Let's show them what real leadership looks like. I texted back. Tuesday will be interesting. Then I turned back to my daughter and our volcano, pushing thoughts of Tuesday aside. The explosion would come soon enough. Tuesday arrived with the weight of an oncoming storm. I stood in the elevator, watching the numbers climb, when a familiar cologne hit me before I saw him. Weston stepped in, his eyes fixed on his phone. Good morning, I said quietly. He looked up, did a double take, and nearly dropped his device. Taya? What are you? The elevator dinged. I stepped out first. Fourth floor meeting? Yes, but follow me. I led the way to the conference room, aware of his confusion radiating behind me. Inside, Presley and Vivian were already seated, along with several other team members. Everyone, I announced, taking my place at the head of the table. Let's begin the Legacy Division Performance Review. Weston stood frozen in the doorway. You're the new COO? Please take a seat, I gestured professionally. We have a lot to cover. His face flushed as he sat down, fumbling with his presentation materials. I could feel everyone's eyes darting between us, sensing the tension. Your division's latest quarterly results, I began, displaying the charts. Care to explain these numbers? He cleared his throat. We've been transitioning systems. There were unexpected challenges. For the past 3 quarters? If I may, he straightened his tie, attempting to regain composure. Our team has decades of experience. We know what works. Clearly not, I interrupted, switching to the next slide. Your operating costs are 40% higher than comparable divisions, with 30% lower output. That's not experience. That's inefficiency. Presley slid a document across the table. Our proposed restructuring plan. Weston's hands shook slightly as he read. This is... You can't just... We can and we will, I stated firmly. You have 3 months to implement these changes. Or what? Or we'll find someone who can. After the meeting, Vivian caught up with me in my office. That was intense. You didn't mention you knew him. Would it have changed the facts? No, but... She paused as my phone rang. It was Noah's school. Ms. Stevenson, Noah's had an incident in the cafeteria. Nothing serious, but we need you to come pick him up. 20 minutes later, I found my son sitting outside the principal's office, tears streaking his face. He called me a liar, Noah burst out before I could ask. Jake said Dad doesn't want to see us anymore. That's why he missed my birthday. I pushed him. My heart cracked. Weston had promised to come to Noah's birthday last week, but canceled last minute. Something about an important meeting. Oh, honey. I pulled him close. Sometimes people say mean things because they're hurting too. Is it true? About Dad? No, baby. Dad loves you. He's just struggling right now. That evening, as I helped Sadie with her homework, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Sophia. We need to talk. Coffee tomorrow? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Starbucks, 8 a.m. Mom, is this right? Sadie pushed her math worksheet toward me. Let me see. I focused on her multiplication problems, pushing thoughts of tomorrow's meeting aside. The next morning I arrived early. Sophia was already there, looking younger than I remembered, more uncertain. Thanks for coming, she said as I sat down. I know this is weird. What do you want, Sophia? It's about Weston. He's not handling things well. The merger, the review, finding out about you. That's not my problem anymore. Please, she leaned forward. He might lose his job. We're supposed to be getting married, but now he's talking about moving away, starting over. I felt a laugh bubble up. And you want me to what? Go easy on him? Protect his job? I just thought, for the kids, don't. My voice turned to ice. Don't you dare use my children to manipulate me. Weston chose this, all of it. His department is failing because he refuses to adapt, just like our marriage failed because he refused to work at it. I didn't mean... Meeting's over. I stood up, gathering my things. Tell Weston if he wants to keep his job, he needs to follow the restructuring plan. And if he misses another one of his children's birthdays, we'll be having a very different conversation. As I walked out, my phone pinged with a message from Hugo. Board loved your restructuring presentation. Keep pushing forward. I smiled, thinking of Noah's superhero movies. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about becoming strong enough that they can't destroy you. Your dad's here, I told the kids as a familiar car pulled into our driveway. Remember, just 2 hours at the park. Sadie rolled her eyes. We know, Mom. Weston knocked instead of using his old key. Progress, I supposed. When I opened the door, he looked smaller somehow, his confident swagger replaced by uncertainty. They're ready, I said before he could speak. Have them back by 5. Taya, about the restructuring. Not now, not in front of them. The kids bounded down the stairs, backpacks ready for their park adventure. I hugged them goodbye, watching until Weston's car disappeared around the corner. My phone buzzed. Presley. Emergency at the office. Need you ASAP. I found the office in chaos. Someone had leaked details of the restructuring plan to the entire legacy division. Dozens of angry emails flooded my inbox, and Presley looked ready to pull her hair out. Half of Weston's team is threatening to quit, she explained, showing me the latest messages. They're saying we're destroying years of expertise. More like years of complacency, I muttered, scanning the emails. Call an all-hands meeting. Now. Within 30 minutes, the main conference room was packed. I stood at the front, facing the sea of worried faces. Let me be clear, I began. Change is not optional. This industry moves forward with or without us. Those who adapt will thrive. Those who don't. This is bullshit, someone shouted from the back. We've been here for years. And what do you have to show for those years? I countered. Outdated systems? Bloated processes? The world is digital now. Either evolve or become obsolete. Easy for you to say, another voice called out. You've been here, what, 6 months? In 6 months, I've increased efficiency by 35% in every department I've touched. How many of you can say the same? Silence fell over the room. The restructuring continues as planned, I finished. My door is open to anyone who wants to be part of the solution. The rest of you, well, that's your choice to make. After the meeting, Vivian appeared in my office. That was ruthless. That was necessary. Maybe, she sat down, but there's something you should see. She handed me a printed email chain. My eyes widened as I read. Messages between Weston and several board members, questioning my objectivity. suggesting personal bias in the restructuring plan. "He's trying to undermine me," I said, my voice tight. "He's trying to save himself. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Before I could answer, my phone rang, the kid's emergency ringtone. My heart stopped. "Hello? Mom?" Sadie's voice trembled. "Noah fell at the park. He's bleeding." "Where's your father?" "Talking on the phone about work." "Mom, there's a lot of blood." I was already grabbing my keys. "Put pressure on it, honey, I'm coming." I found them at the emergency room. Noah sat on an exam table, sporting 6 stitches above his eye. Weston paced nearby, still on his phone. "What happened?" I demanded. "He was climbing the monkey bars," Weston started. "While you were what? Plotting against me at work?" His face paled. "Taya, I can explain." "Save it." I turned to Noah, gently examining his stitches. "You okay, baby?" He nodded bravely. "The doctor said I'm tough." "Toughest kid I know," I agreed, then faced Weston. "We're done here. I'm taking them home." "Taya, please. You want to play office politics? Fine. But you do not put our children at risk while doing it." At home, after the kids were settled with ice cream and movies, I received an email from Hugo. "Board meeting tomorrow. Bring everything you have on the Legacy Division's performance." I opened my laptop, pulling up files, metrics, and documentation. If Weston wanted a war, I'd give him one. But I'd fight it my way, with facts, figures, and irrefutable evidence of his division's failures. My phone lit up with a text from Angela. "Heard about Noah. Need backup?" "No," I replied, "but I might need a witness when I destroy his father's career tomorrow." "That's my girl. Want me to take the kids after school?" I looked at Noah dozing on the couch, his sister protectively close. "Yes, tomorrow's going to be a long day." As I prepared for bed, another email arrived, from Sophia this time, but sent to Weston and accidentally copied to me. "Baby, maybe we should reconsider the transfer. Your ex-wife clearly has it out for you." I smiled, saving the email as evidence. Sometimes Karma needed a little help, and I was more than happy to assist. The board meeting room felt like a courtroom, with Hugo at the head table and 12 pairs of eyes fixed on me. Weston sat across the room, Sophia surprisingly present beside him. She wouldn't meet my gaze. "Let's address the elephant in the room," Hugo began. "Weston has raised concerns about potential personal bias in our restructuring plans. Taya, your response?" I stood, connecting my laptop to the projector. I'll let the data speak for itself. The first slide appeared, a devastating comparison of division performances. "These aren't my numbers," I explained. "These are independently audited figures spanning the past 3 years. "That's not the point," Weston interrupted. "This is clearly personal." "Personal?" I clicked to the next slide. "Like missing your son's birthday for a meeting that, according to the company calendar, never existed? Or being on your phone discussing office politics while our child needed emergency stitches? That's not fair." "What's not fair," I continued, "is watching talented team members stagnate under leadership that refuses to innovate." I distributed folders to each board member. "These are resignation letters from 6 of your top developers, all citing resistance to necessary technological updates." Sophia touched Weston's arm as he started to respond, but he shrugged her off. "You're trying to destroy everything I've built," he accused. "You're doing that yourself." I pulled up an email on the screen. "This was sent to your team last month, explicitly instructing them to ignore the new implementation protocols." The board members leaned forward, reading. Hugo's expression darkened. "That's a private communication," Weston protested. "Nothing is private when it violates company policy." I turned to the board. The Legacy Division isn't failing because of personal vendettas. It's failing because its leader is more interested in maintaining control than adapting to change. Sophia suddenly stood up. "This isn't right. Tell them, Weston." "Tell them what?" he snapped. "About the job offer in Seattle. About how you've been planning to leave anyway." The room fell silent. Hugo raised an eyebrow. "Is this true?" Weston's face reddened. I was exploring options. "While actively undermining our restructuring efforts," I finished. putting both the company and your team at risk. I think we've heard enough, Hugo announced. Weston, please wait outside while we discuss this matter. As Weston and Sophia left, I caught a glimpse of their expressions, his angry, hers disappointed. The sight brought no satisfaction, only a hollow feeling in my chest. 20 minutes later, Hugo called me to his office. The board has decided to accelerate the restructuring, he said. Weston will be offered a choice: accept a demotion or take a severance package. And if he fights it? The evidence is clear. He won't win. My phone buzzed. Angela. Kids are good. Noah's showing off his stitches like battle wounds. You okay? Before I could respond, there was a knock. Sophia stood in the doorway. Can we talk? She asked. Alone? Hugo nodded, leaving us. I'm sorry, she said immediately. About everything. The park incident, the undermining, all of it. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know. He did the same thing to me that he did to you. Made promises, blamed others for his failures. Always had an escape plan ready. I sat down heavily. The Seattle job? Doesn't exist. It was just another fantasy he used to avoid responsibility. She smiled sadly. You're better at this than I ever was. Standing up to him, I mean. Practice makes perfect, I replied dryly. My phone buzzed again, Sadie this time. Mom, can we have pizza tonight? Noah says his stitches deserve pizza. Looking at the message, I felt the tension leave my body. This wasn't about Weston anymore. It never really was. I have to go, I told Sophia. My kids need me. Of course, she hesitated. For what it's worth, I'm ending things with him. I deserve better. Yes, I agreed. You do. On my way out, I passed Weston sitting alone in the hallway, head in his hands. For a moment, I remembered the man I'd married. Ambitious, charming, full of dreams. But that man had vanished long ago, replaced by someone I barely recognized. The HR team will contact you tomorrow, I said professionally as I walked past. Taya, wait. Goodbye, Weston. In my car, I finally replied to Angela. Kids still up for a sleepover? I need a pizza party with my favorite people. Already ordered. Extra cheese, just like Noah likes it. I smiled, starting the engine. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about winning or losing. It's about knowing exactly who you are and what matters most. And right now, what mattered most was waiting for me with pizza and battle stories about 6 brave stitches. He took the severance, Vivian announced, dropping into the chair across from my desk. Signed the papers this morning. I nodded, focusing on my laptop screen. And the team? Already responding well to the interim leadership. Presley's handling the transition beautifully. My phone lit up with a text from Weston. Need to talk about the kids. Coffee. Everything okay? Vivian asked, noticing my expression. Just loose ends to tie up. I texted back, pick them up from school today. We'll talk then. The school parking lot was quieter than usual when I arrived. Weston was already there, looking disheveled in a way I'd never seen before. No tie, wrinkled shirt, 3 days of stubble. Sophia left, he said as soon as I approached. I know. She said I never changed. That I did to her what I did to you. The kids burst out of the school before I could respond. Noah spotted us first, his stitches now just a red line above his eye. Dad? Mom? His voice wavered with uncertainty. Hey, buddy, Weston knelt down. I owe you an apology. About the park, about your birthday, about a lot of things. Sadie hung back, watching with arms crossed, a miniature version of my own defensive stance. Are you moving to Seattle? She asked bluntly. Weston flinched. No, sweetheart. I'm staying right here. If that's okay with you guys. Why should we believe you? Her voice cracked slightly. I touched her shoulder. Sadie. No, she's right, Weston interrupted. I haven't given you any reason to trust me, but I'm asking for a chance to do better. Noah moved closer to his sister. You made Mom cry. A lot. I know. Weston's eyes met mine briefly. I made a lot of mistakes. but losing my job, losing Sophia, it made me realize what really matters. Ice cream, I said suddenly. What? 3 confused faces turned to me. Let's get ice cream. We can talk more there. At the ice cream parlor, watching the kids deliberate over flavors, Weston spoke quietly. I'm sorry, Taya, for everything. I'm not the one who needs to hear that anymore. I know, but they do, and I don't know how. Start by showing up, I said firmly. Not just when it's convenient. Every time you say you will. Build trust back one promise at a time. Like you did, with your new career. I did that for them, and for me. The kids returned with towering sundaes. Noah had chocolate sauce dripping down his chin within seconds. Dad, Sadie said between bites, if you're staying, will you come to my soccer game Saturday? I'll be there. Promise? Her eyes narrowed. Front row, with one of those embarrassing parent signs if you want. She almost smiled. Almost. Back at the school parking lot, Weston hugged the kids goodbye. Saturday, he confirmed. I promise. As he walked to his car, my phone buzzed. Hugo. Board wants to discuss expanding your role. Dinner meeting tomorrow? Everything okay, Mom? Sadie asked as we drove home. Better than okay, I assured her. How about you? She considered this. I'm still mad at Dad. But? But maybe people can change, like you did. That evening, as I helped Noah with his reading, Angela called. Heard Weston took the severance. How are you feeling? Surprisingly peaceful. Really? No urge to gloat? No victory dance? I watched Noah sound out a difficult word, his face scrunched in concentration. The victory isn't in destroying him. It's in building something better from the wreckage. When did you get so wise? Somewhere between learning Python and running a company. After putting the kids to bed, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine. My phone lit up with an email from Presley. Team morale at an all-time high. You should see the innovations they're proposing now that they feel heard. Another text came through from Weston. Thank you, for today, for not telling them about Seattle, for everything. I didn't reply. Some messages don't need answers. Some chapters need to close quietly. Instead, I opened my laptop and began working on tomorrow's presentation for the board. On my screen, lines of code merged with business projections, creating something new, something better, just like us. Mom, Dad's sign is so embarrassing, Sadie groaned, but I caught her secret smile as she ran onto the soccer field. True to his word, Weston stood on the sidelines holding a glitter-covered poster that read, Go Sadie, kick some grass. Noah sat beside him, adding more sparkles to the already bedazzled creation. I settled into my camping chair, laptop balanced on my knees. The quarterly reports could wait. My daughter was about to play striker for the first time. Quite the sign, Vivian commented, surprising me as she claimed the chair next to mine. Mind if I join? My nephew's on the opposing team. You came to watch soccer on a Saturday? She shrugged. After your presentation yesterday, I figured I should see what work-life balance actually looks like. The board meeting had been unexpected. Instead of just discussing my role expansion, they'd wanted my vision for the company's future. I'd talked about flexible schedules, remote work options, and family-friendly policies. We're a tech company, I told them. We should be leading the way in how people work, not just what they work on. On the field, Sadie intercepted a pass. The crowd cheered as she dribbled toward the goal. That's my girl, Weston shouted, waving his sign wildly. He's different, Vivian observed. He's trying, I corrected. That's what matters. Sadie scored, and Noah launched himself at his father in celebration, sending glitter everywhere. I couldn't help laughing at their sparkly joy. My phone buzzed. Angela. Sorry I'm late. Traffic. Did I miss anything? Just your goddaughter's first goal as striker. What? Stall the game. I'm 5 minutes away. During halftime, Weston approached my chair. Hugo called me yesterday. Oh? He's offering me a consulting position. Said something about valuable institutional knowledge that shouldn't go to waste. He paused. Did you... The company needs people who understand its history, I said, as long as they're also willing to embrace its future. Thank you. Don't thank me. Prove it was the right call. The second half started, and Angela finally arrived, bearing victory popsicles for after the game. As we watched Sadie play, I felt my laptop sliding off my knees. "I'll take that," Vivian said, catching it. "You've got a game to watch." When the final whistle blew, Sadie's team had won 3-1. She ran to us, sweaty and beaming. "Did you see? Did you see my goal?" "We all saw," I assured her, pulling her close despite the sweat. Every amazing second. "Even the part where I stole the ball from that kid who called Noah names last week?" "Especially that part," Weston grinned. Later, at the post-game pizza celebration, I watched my children. Noah was teaching Weston some coding basics he'd learned from me, while Sadie regaled Angela with a play-by-play of her victory. "Your team's quarterly numbers came in," Vivian mentioned, sliding into the booth beside me. "Best performance in company history." "The team did the work. I just gave them room to shine." "Like you did with him?" She nodded toward Weston. "No," I said thoughtfully. "I gave myself room to shine. Everything else just followed." My phone lit up with a message from Hugo. "Board approved all your proposals. The future looks bright." "Mom," Noah called out, "Dad doesn't understand a raise. Can you explain it to him?" I looked at my son, his stitches now just a faint line, his eyes bright with the joy of teaching something new. At Sadie, still in her soccer uniform, gesturing wildly as she described her goal. At Weston, humbled but present, genuinely trying to understand both a raise and his children. "Coming," I said, sliding out of the booth. "But first, who wants more pizza?" A chorus of "me" erupted from the table. As I walked to the counter, I caught my reflection in the window. I saw someone I barely recognized, stronger, happier, whole. Not because of revenge or success or even forgiveness, but because I'd finally learned to code my own life, debugging the parts that didn't work and building something better in their place. "Hey," Angela called out, "you okay over there?" I turned back to my family, the one we'd rebuilt from the ground up with new functions and better protocols. "Never better," I replied. And for the first time in forever, it was absolutely true.
The church bells chimed 11, each resonating strike a mockery of what should have been the happiest moment of my life. I stood at the altar in my designer wedding dress, fighting the urge to check my phone again. My name is Lexi, and this was the day my world imploded. "Something's wrong," I whispered to Malik, who stood closest to me as my honorary man of honor. The gathered guests were starting to whisper, their murmurs echoing off the cathedral's vaulted ceiling. "I'm sure he's just stuck in traffic," Malik replied, but his face betrayed his concern. "Want me to call him again?" I nodded, watching as he stepped aside to make the call. My eyes scanned the crowded pews, noting the conspicuous absence of my mother, Josephine. She'd texted earlier claiming a migraine, saying she'd try to make it for the ceremony. Now her absence felt like a warning sign I should have heeded. The church doors burst open and my heart leaped, only to sink when I saw Brandon, our photographer, rushing in. "Sorry, got held up outside with..." He trailed off, his expression shifting from apologetic to alarmed. Before I could ask what was wrong, the doors swung open again. Tristan walked in, but not in his wedding suit. He wore jeans and a wrinkled button-down shirt, his face flushed and hair disheveled. Behind him stood my mother, wearing a red dress that seemed to mock the occasion. "Lexi," Tristan called out, his voice echoing through the now silent church. "I can't do this." I gripped my bouquet tighter, white roses crushing under my fingers. "What do you mean you can't do this?" He walked down the aisle, Josephine following close behind. The guests' heads swiveled between us like they were watching some twisted tennis match. "I've fallen in love with someone else," he announced, his voice steady and cruel. "I've been fighting it for months, but I can't deny it anymore." "Someone else?" The words felt like glass in my throat. That's when my mother stepped forward, linking her arm through Tristan's. "We never meant for this to happen, sweetheart." The church erupted in gasps and shocked exclamations. Aunt Simone jumped to her feet, pointing an accusing finger. "Josephine, how could you?" I stood frozen, my mind refusing to process the scene before me. My fiancé and my mother and my fiancé. The equation wouldn't compute. "How long?" I managed to ask, my voice surprisingly steady. 6 months, Tristan replied, having the audacity to look apologetic. We tried to fight it, but 6 months? I cut him off. So when you were helping me pick out wedding invitations, when you were calling me princess and promising forever, when you were sleeping in my bed, Josephine stepped forward. Darling, sometimes these things just, don't you dare call me darling, I snapped, finally finding my voice. Don't you dare act like you're still my mother. Nina, my best friend and lawyer, was already on her feet, phone in hand. I could see her typing furiously, no doubt documenting everything. Everyone out, I announced, my voice carrying across the stunned congregation. Show's over. Thank you for coming to witness my mother and fiancé's betrayal. Please help yourself to the reception food. I hear karma goes well with wedding cake. As the guests began filing out, some offering awkward condolences, others just avoiding eye contact, Tristan tried one more time. Lexi, we should talk about this privately. Privately? I laughed, the sound brittle and sharp. Like how you two kept your affair private? No, I think we're done here. I turned to leave, but Josephine grabbed my arm. You're making a scene, she hissed. I yanked my arm free. I'm making a scene? That's rich coming from the woman who just helped destroy her daughter's wedding. Malik stepped between us, his presence solid and protective. I suggest you both leave. Now. They retreated, but not before Tristan called out, I'll call you later to explain everything. Don't bother, I replied, my voice ice cold. I'm sure you'll be too busy with your new life. Just remember, karma's a bigger bitch than I am, and that's saying something. I walked out of the church with my head high, ignoring the pitying looks and whispers. In the bridal suite, I finally allowed myself to collapse onto a chair, my expensive dress pooling around me like broken dreams. My phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. Tristan's name flashed on the screen. Against my better judgment, I pressed play. Hey, princess. His voice dripped with false sympathy. I guess by now you know our little secret. Your mother and I, we're really happy. I hope someday you'll understand that you can't fight true love. Maybe this is for the best. You were always a bit too career-focused anyway. Your mother gets me in a way you never could. I ended the message, a cold clarity washing over me. They thought they'd broken me, but they'd just awakened something far more dangerous. My desire for revenge. And I was going to make sure they both regretted the day they decided to betray me. 2 months before the wedding disaster, I first noticed something was off. Tristan had left his laptop open while showering, and a notification popped up from my mother. Delete these messages after reading. I shouldn't have looked, but something in my gut screamed that I had to. The messages made my blood run cold. Last night was amazing, my mother had written, but we need to be more careful. Lexi's getting suspicious about your late meetings. I quickly forwarded the messages to my email, my hands shaking. Then I closed everything, making it appear untouched. That night, I bought 3 hidden cameras and a voice recorder. You're not crazy, Malik assured me a week later as we sat in his apartment, reviewing the footage I'd collected. Look at this. The video showed Tristan and my mother in our kitchen, speaking in hushed tones while I was supposedly at work. Their bodies were too close, their touches lingering too long. I need more evidence, I said, gripping my coffee mug so tight my knuckles turned white. Something concrete. You could just confront them, Malik suggested, but his tone indicated he knew I wouldn't. No, I need to understand how deep this goes. I pulled out my laptop. Help me access the family trust account? Malik, being the family's unofficial tech expert, took less than 5 minutes to break in. What we found made me physically ill. Holy shit, he breathed, scrolling through the transactions. Tristan's been transferring money from the trust to a private account for months, and look who authorized it. My mother's digital signature was on every transfer. $200,000, I whispered. They've been stealing from the family trust while planning their affair. This is way bigger than just cheating, Malik said, taking screenshots. This is fraud. A text lit up my phone. Tristan, working late tonight, princess. Don't wait up. I showed Malik the message, and he immediately grabbed his car keys. Let's see exactly what kind of work he's doing. We followed Tristan's car to an upscale restaurant across town. Through the window, we could see him and my mother in a private booth, looking very much like lovers enjoying a romantic dinner. Record everything, I instructed Malik, who was already filming with his phone. What's your plan? He asked as we watched them share a dessert, their fingers intertwining on the table. I'm going to let them think they're winning, I replied, my voice steady despite the nausea in my stomach. They want to play happy couple? Fine. Let them plan their betrayal while I plan something better. Over the next few weeks, I became the perfect, unsuspecting bride-to-be. I gushed over flower arrangements with my mother, asked Tristan's opinion on honeymoon destinations, and played my part flawlessly. Meanwhile, I gathered evidence: bank statements, photos, videos, recordings, every secret meeting, every stolen kiss, every manipulated financial document. "You're scary good at this," Nina commented one evening as I showed her the growing file of evidence. "But are you sure you want to wait? We could stop the wedding now." I shook my head. They need to feel the humiliation I feel. Everyone needs to see who they really are. The financial fraud alone could put them both in serious legal trouble, Nina mused, reviewing the documents. Add in the breach of fiduciary duty since your mother's a trustee. I want them to lose everything, I said coldly. Their reputation, their money, their dignity, just like they're taking everything from me. The day before the wedding, I got my final piece of evidence. I'd accidentally left my phone recording in my mother's study during the rehearsal dinner. "Tomorrow's going to be difficult," Tristan's voice played through my earphones as I listened later that night. "But once it's done, we'll be free." "Are you sure you want to do it this way?" my mother asked. "We could just tell her privately." "No," Tristan replied firmly. "She needs to understand she never really had me. Public humiliation will keep her from fighting back. You know how she is, always trying to control everything." "You're right," my mother agreed. "And once we're together openly, we can access the rest of the trust fund. I've already spoken to the lawyers about removing her as a beneficiary." I stopped the recording, my hands steady as I added it to my evidence file. They thought tomorrow would be their triumph, their grand revelation of true love conquering all. They had no idea I'd been 10 steps ahead of them the entire time. "Everything's ready," I texted Malik. "Tomorrow they'll learn what real humiliation feels like." His response came quickly. "I've got your back. Time to show them who they're really dealing with." I closed my laptop and smiled. Tomorrow they thought they were destroying my wedding. Instead, they were walking straight into my trap. The day after the wedding disaster, I sat in Nina's office, surrounded by manila folders and legal documents. My wedding dress hung like a ghost in its garment bag against the wall. "They've already started moving more money," Nina said, tapping her keyboard. "Another 50,000 transferred this morning." "They're getting sloppy," I replied, scrolling through my phone. "Probably think I'm too devastated to notice." Nina leaned forward, her expression serious. "We need to move fast. I can file for an emergency injunction to freeze the trust assets, but..." A knock interrupted us. Aunt Simone walked in, carrying a worn leather briefcase. "I have something you need to see." She pulled out a stack of yellowed papers and spread them across Nina's desk. "Your mother has a history of this behavior. 25 years ago, she did the same thing to my best friend, seduced her husband, stole their savings, and disappeared for 2 years. "What?" I grabbed one of the documents. It was a police report detailing financial fraud allegations against my mother. "The charges were dropped," Simone explained, "because your grandfather paid everyone off to avoid a scandal. That's when she met your father." Nina was already scanning the documents. "This establishes a pattern of behavior. We can use this." My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "We need to talk. Come to the house tonight, just us." "Don't go," Simone warned. "She'll try to manipulate you." "No," I said, showing them the message. "This is perfect. I'll wear a wire." Nina pulled out a small recording device from her desk. "Use this. It's more reliable than a phone." That evening, I walked into my childhood home. My mother sat in her favorite armchair, looking perfectly composed in an expensive silk blouse. "Darling," she started, "I know you're hurt." "Save it," I cut her off, sitting across from her. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand. Tristan and we didn't plan this. Sometimes love just happens." I laughed bitterly. "Love? Is that what you call embezzling money from the family trust?" Her face paled slightly. "I don't know what you're talking about. $250,000, Mother. That's how much you and Tristan have stolen so far. Want to explain that?" She stood up, her composure cracking. "You've been spying on us? Like you've been betraying me? Funny how that works." "Listen carefully," she hissed, her maternal mask slipping completely. "If you pursue this, you'll regret it. I'm still a trustee. One signature from me and you'll lose everything. I smiled, touching the recording device hidden under my shirt. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Back off, Lexi, you can't win this. You know what's interesting? I stood up, matching her stance. You're so focused on the money, you haven't even apologized for sleeping with my fiancé. He never loved you, she spat. You were just convenient, a way to get close to the family money. We've been laughing about it for months. Perfect. Got it all on tape. Goodbye, Mother, I said calmly, walking toward the door. See you in court. You ungrateful little... She grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. The front door opened and Brandon walked in, camera raised. Everything okay here, Lexi? My mother released me immediately, her face morphing into fake concern. Brandon, I didn't realize you were coming by. Just documenting everything, he said smoothly, still filming. For posterity. Back at Nina's office, we played the recordings. Simone shook her head in disgust. She hasn't changed at all. This is gold, Nina said, making notes. The threats, the admission of fraud, the physical assault, all on record. My phone buzzed again. A letter had been delivered to my apartment. Inside was a single sheet of expensive stationery. Dear Lexi, drop this now. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Don't force me to destroy you completely. Love, Mom. I handed the letter to Nina. Add it to the evidence pile. We need to move fast, she said, reaching for her phone. I'm calling Judge Martinez for an emergency hearing. What's our next step? I asked. Nina smiled grimly. We're going to hit them where it hurts most, their reputation. Brandon's connections at the newspaper will help with that. They thought I was weak, I said, looking at the threatening letter. They thought I would just cry and give up. Simone squeezed my shoulder. They forgot whose daughter you really are, your father's, and he taught you to fight. I nodded, feeling stronger than I had in days. Time to show them exactly what I'm capable of. Brandon's article hit the front page of the city's largest newspaper on a Sunday morning. The headline read, Mother of the Bride Runs Off with Groom, a story of betrayal, fraud, and family destruction. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Malik was first. Have you seen it? It's everywhere. Social media is blowing up. I was already on my laptop, watching the story spread like wildfire. Brandon had done an incredible job, presenting the evidence methodically while painting a devastating picture of betrayal. Look at the comments, Nina said when she called. People are furious. Your mother's social circle is imploding. I scrolled through hundreds of responses. This is disgusting. How could a mother do this to her own daughter? I know these people. Never shopping at their business again. The financial fraud allegations are shocking. Where are the authorities? By noon, local TV stations were picking up the story. I watched from my apartment as reporters camped outside my mother's house, waiting for comment. They're at Tristan's office too, Brandon reported, sending me live footage. He tried to leave through the back door, but they caught him. Want to see him running to his car? The video showed Tristan, disheveled and panicked, pushing through reporters while they shouted questions. Mr. Kent, did you plan to humiliate your fiancé at the altar? Is it true you've been embezzling from the family trust? How long were you sleeping with your future mother-in-law? My phone buzzed with a text from Tristan. What have you done? This is insane. Call them off. I replied with a screenshot of his gloating voicemail from the wedding day. Karma's funny that way. The doorbell rang. It was Nina with a stack of papers. The judge granted our emergency injunction. The trust is frozen. They can't touch another penny. How are they taking it? Your mother's lawyer called 3 times already. They're desperate to settle. I shook my head. No settlements. I want this to play out in public court. My laptop pinged with an email notification. It was from my father's sister in Europe. Just saw the news. Your mother did the same thing to our family 20 years ago. I have documents to prove it. Want them? Forward everything to Nina, I replied immediately. More messages poured in. Old friends of my mother's, former business associates, even her college roommate. Each had a story, a warning, a piece of evidence showing her pattern of destruction. You've started an avalanche, Malik said, bringing over lunch. Look at this. He showed me a social media post from one of my mother's closest friends. After 15 years of friendship, I'm horrified to learn the truth about Josephine. To all the families she's destroyed. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. The post had thousands of shares. Brandon called again. Local business groups are distancing themselves. Your mother's been asked to resign from 3 charity boards already. What about Tristan's firm? I asked. They've put him on indefinite leave. Clients are threatening to pull their accounts. My doorbell rang again. This time it was a young woman I'd never met. I'm Rachel, she said nervously. Your mother and my ex-husband. 3 years ago. I never had proof, but seeing your story, I invited her in, recording her testimony as she described an identical pattern. The seduction, the gaslighting, the financial manipulation. I lost everything, Rachel said, wiping tears. I thought I was crazy. Thank you for exposing them. By evening, Justice for Lexi was trending locally. People gathered outside my mother's house with signs, "Shame on you," and "Money can't buy morals." Tristan tried calling again. I let it go to voicemail. Please, Lexi, this is destroying us. We'll return the money. We'll do anything. Just call off the media. I forwarded the voicemail to Nina. More evidence of guilt. Your story's been picked up by national news, Brandon reported. They want interviews. Set them up, I agreed. It's time everyone knew the truth. My phone lit up with another text, this time from my mother. You think you've won? Watch your back. This isn't over. I showed the message to Nina, who added it to our growing file of threats. She's right about one thing, I said, watching more news vans arrive outside my mother's house. This isn't over, it's just beginning. Are you ready for what comes next? Malik asked. Once we go to court, everything will be public record. I looked at Rachel, still sharing her story of betrayal, then at the growing media circus outside, and finally at the stack of evidence on my coffee table. I'm ready, I said firmly. They wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. Now everyone will see exactly who they really are. The news anchor on TV announced, coming up, the wedding scandal that exposed a pattern of fraud and betrayal. Stay tuned for exclusive details. I smiled. The truth was finally coming out, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. The courthouse steps were packed with reporters as Nina and I made our way inside. My mother and Tristan had already arrived, huddled with their lawyers in the corner of the courtroom. Ready? Nina whispered, organizing our evidence files. I nodded, keeping my eyes forward. My mother wore her favorite victim outfit, modest navy dress, pearls, minimal makeup. Tristan looked exhausted, his designer suit wrinkled. All rise. The bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. Your Honor, my mother's lawyer began, we'd like to propose a settlement. No, Nina interrupted firmly. My client declines any settlement offers. We want this on record. The judge nodded. Proceed with your opening statement, counselor. Nina stood, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. This case is about more than a broken engagement. It's about systematic fraud, betrayal, and the deliberate destruction of a family for financial gain. She played the recording from my mother's house. The threat about disinheriting me echoed through the courtroom. My mother's face tightened. Ms. Sullivan, the judge addressed my mother. Are you denying that's your voice? Your Honor? My mother stood, tears ready. I was emotional. My daughter was threatening. Please answer the question, Judge Martinez interrupted. No, I don't deny it. Nina projected bank statements onto the courtroom screen. These transfers, totaling over $250,000, were made to an offshore account. Both defendants' signatures are clearly visible. Tristan's lawyer jumped up. We can explain those transfers. Please do. Nina smiled. Explain why a trustee and her daughter's fiancé were secretly moving money during their affair. The evidence mounted. Emails, photos, voice recordings. Rachel testified about her similar experience, followed by 2 other women with parallel stories about my mother. Your Honor, my mother interrupted, standing suddenly. I'd like to address the court. Judge Martinez nodded. Proceed. Lexi, honey. She turned to me, eyes brimming with tears. I'm your mother. Everything I did was for love. Can't you understand that? We're family. Family? I stood, ignoring Nina's warning hand. Was it family love when you seduced my fiancé? Family loyalty when you stole my inheritance? Family pride when you planned to humiliate me at my own wedding? Ms. Sullivan, the judge warned, but I continued. You want to talk about family? Let's talk about Rachel's family and the others. How many families have you destroyed, Mother? Objection, her lawyer called. I have evidence. Nina interjected, pulling out more files. 3 more cases of similar behavior, spanning 20 years. Affidavits from victims, police reports, bank records. This is a witch hunt, Tristan suddenly shouted, his composure breaking. "We're in love. Yes, we took the money, but we deserve—" "Mr. Kent," Judge Martinez's voice cut like steel. "Are you admitting to fraud?" The color drained from Tristan's face as his lawyer grabbed his arm. "Your Honor," Nina smiled, "I believe that's a confession." My mother stood again, her mask cracking. "You ungrateful little bitch. After everything I've done for you—" "Mrs. Sullivan," the judge slammed her gavel. "One more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt." The proceedings continued. Nina presented evidence of their planned betrayal, the calculated timing of the wedding humiliation, the systematic draining of funds. "The defense's actions show clear malicious intent," Nina concluded. "We ask for full financial restitution, punitive damages, and a restraining order against both defendants." Judge Martinez reviewed the evidence silently. The courtroom held its breath. "Given the overwhelming evidence and Mr. Kent's admission of fraud," she began, "I'm granting the plaintiff's requests in full. Additionally, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for potential criminal charges." My mother collapsed into her chair. Tristan looked like he might vomit. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "Mrs. Sullivan is removed as trustee, effective immediately. The trust will be frozen pending a full audit." "Your Honor, please." My mother tried one last time. "Mrs. Sullivan, you've demonstrated a pattern of predatory behavior spanning decades. This court finds your actions particularly egregious given the betrayal of your own daughter. Your fortunate criminal charges weren't filed years ago." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. "How does it feel to win?" "What's next for your mother and Mr. Kent?" "Will you press criminal charges?" Nina handled the press while I walked to my car, where Malik waited. "You did it," he said, hugging me. My phone buzzed. A text from Tristan. "Please, can we talk? I've lost everything." I showed Malik the message. "Karma's funny that way." He quoted my earlier words. Another message came, this time from Rachel. "Thank you for giving us all justice. You've inspired so many people." I looked back at the courthouse where my mother was being hounded by reporters. Her perfect image finally shattered. "Let's go," I told Malik. "I think we're done here." But as we drove away, I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of their downfall. My father's call came late that night. "I'm outside your apartment," he said, his voice heavy. "Can we talk?" I found him sitting in his car, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Hey, Dad." "I watched the court footage," he said as I slid into the passenger seat. "I had no idea about any of it." "I know. 20 years, Lexi. 20 years of marriage, and I never saw who she really was." I reached for his hand. "She fooled everyone." "Not you," he said quietly. "You saw through her. You fought back." He pulled out a thick manila envelope. "There's something you need to see." Inside were documents dating back to before I was born. Bank statements, letters, photographs, all showing a pattern of manipulation and deceit spanning my mother's entire adult life. "I found these in her study after the wedding," he explained. "She's been doing this for decades. Different names, different cities, but always the same pattern." "Why didn't you bring these to court?" "Because," he hesitated, "some of these implicate powerful people. People who paid to keep her quiet. I needed to be sure you were ready for what might come next." My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. "Major development. Turn on Channel 7 now." I pulled up the news on my phone. The headline made my breath catch. "Wedding scandal mother linked to prominent businessman's disappearance." "That's why I'm here," my father said, watching the report. "They're reopening the case of Robert Walsh's disappearance from 15 years ago. Your mother was the last person to see him alive." "What?" "She was having an affair with him. He vanished 2 days after threatening to expose her schemes." A knock on the car window made us both jump. It was Nina. "Sorry to interrupt," she said when I rolled down the window. "But we have a situation. Your mother's trying to leave the country." "What?" "Airport security stopped her an hour ago. She had fake passports and over $50,000 in cash." My father's face hardened. "She's running, just like before." "There's more," Nina continued. "Tristan's agreed to testify against her. He's telling everything." My phone lit up with another message, this time from my mother. "Meet me, 1 hour, the old boathouse. Come alone or everything burns." "Don't go," my father and Nina said simultaneously. "She's desperate," I replied, showing them the message, "which means she's dangerous." "Then we do this smart," Nina said, already dialing. "I'm calling Detective Rodriguez." An hour later, I approached the boathouse wearing a wire, with police hidden nearby. My mother stood by the water, still in her court outfit. "I knew you'd come," she said without turning around. "What do you want?" She finally faced me, her expression eerily calm. "Did you ever wonder why your father's business suddenly succeeded 20 years ago?" "What are you talking about?" "Robert Walsh didn't just disappear," she smiled coldly. "He made a significant investment first. Your comfortable childhood, your trust fund, all built on secrets I've kept." "Are you threatening Dad now?" "I'm offering you a choice. Drop everything, the charges, the investigation, all of it, and these documents stay buried." She patted her handbag. "Or watch your father go down with me." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" She pulled out a file. "Your father's signature is on every document. He knew, Lexi. He always knew." I stepped closer, seeing the papers in the dim light. They looked authentic. "You really are a monster," I whispered. "I'm a survivor," she corrected. "Something you clearly inherited. So, what's it going to be? Your revenge or your father's freedom?" I reached for the file. As soon as she released it, Detective Rodriguez emerged from the shadows. "Josephine Sullivan, you're under arrest for attempted extortion and flight risk." "You wore a wire?" she hissed at me. "My own daughter?" "I learned from the best," I replied, watching as they handcuffed her. "By the way, Dad's already talking to the FBI. Has been for weeks. Those documents, they'll make great evidence." Her face contorted with rage as they led her away. "This isn't over." "Actually," I called after her, "it is. And Mom, orange is definitely not your color." Later, reviewing the recording with Nina and my father, I felt strangely empty. "You okay?" Nina asked. "She was ready to destroy everyone," I said, "even her own family." My father squeezed my shoulder. "But she didn't count on you being stronger than her." My phone buzzed with a news alert. "Socialite arrested. New evidence in cold case." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now," Nina smiled grimly, "we make sure she never hurts another family again." The weight of the evidence file felt heavy in my hands. It wasn't just about my revenge anymore. It was about justice for everyone she'd ever hurt. The final court session felt like a circus. News vans clogged the streets, and the courtroom was packed with reporters, victims, and curious onlookers. "All rise," the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. My mother sat at the defendant's table, wearing prison orange instead of her designer clothes. Tristan was beside her, but they wouldn't even look at each other now. "Before we proceed," Judge Martinez began, "the court has received Mr. Kent's testimony and cooperation agreement." Tristan stood, his voice shaking. "Your Honor, I want to apologize to Lexi publicly. What we did was cruel and calculated. Mrs. Sullivan, she manipulated me, but I was willing to be manipulated. The money, the thrill of secrecy, I lost myself." "Save the performance," I muttered, but Nina shushed me. "Furthermore," he continued, "I can confirm that Mrs. Sullivan confessed to me about Robert Walsh. She bragged about it one night after too much wine. Said he was, quote, just another man who underestimated her." The courtroom erupted in whispers. My mother's lawyer jumped up to object, but she waved him down. "If I'm going down," she announced, standing, "I'm doing it my way." She turned to face the gallery. "Yes, I took advantage of weak men and their money. Yes, I engineered situations for my benefit. And yes, Robert Walsh threatened to expose me, so I handled it. I've spent my entire life watching men take what they want. I simply learned to play their game better." "Mrs. Sullivan," the judge warned, "are you confessing to Mr. Walsh's disappearance?" She smiled coldly. "I'm confessing that men like Robert Walsh, like Tristan here, like all of them, they see what they want to see. A helpless woman, a seductress, a victim. I gave them their fantasy while taking everything they had." "And your daughter?" Judge Martinez asked. "Was she just another mark?" For the first time, my mother's composure cracked. "Lexi was supposed to understand. She's my daughter. She has my blood, my instincts. Instead, she chose to be weak like her father." "Weak?" I stood up, ignoring Nina's attempt to stop me. "I exposed you. I brought you down. How is that weak? You could have joined me, she hissed. We could have been unstoppable together. Instead, you chose justice. She spat the word like poison. Order! Judge Martinez slammed her gavel. Mrs. Sullivan, you've just confessed to multiple felonies in open court. Do you understand that? I understand that I'm done pretending, she replied. Done playing the repentant mother, the misunderstood woman. You want to send me to prison? Fine. But remember, everything I did because men made it easy. They wanted to believe the lies. The judge shuffled her papers. Given the defendant's confession and the overwhelming evidence, this court sentences Josephine Sullivan to 25 years in prison for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy in the disappearance of Robert Walsh. Mr. Kent, in light of your cooperation, you are sentenced to 5 years with possibility of parole. As the bailiffs approached, my mother turned to me one last time. You think this is victory? Watch your back, daughter. You're more like me than you know. No, I replied firmly. I'm nothing like you. I chose truth over lies, justice over revenge. Time will tell. She smiled as they led her away. Blood always tells. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Lexi, how does it feel to see justice served? Any comments on your mother's confession? What about Mr. Kent's apology? Brandon pushed through the crowd with his camera. Exclusive statement for the paper? I looked at Nina, who nodded encouragingly. My mother spent her life destroying families for profit and pleasure, I said into the microphones. Today isn't about revenge. It's about justice for every life she ruined, every person she betrayed, every family she tore apart. What's next for you? Someone shouted. Healing, I replied honestly, and helping others heal too. My phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. You did it. You gave us all closure. Thank you. More messages flooded in from other victims, sharing their relief and gratitude. Malik appeared at my side. Ready to go? As we walked away, Tristan called out from the prisoner transport van. Lexi, wait. Please. I really am sorry. I paused, turning to face him. Save your apologies, Tristan. You chose your path. I loved you, he tried. In the beginning, I really did. No, I replied calmly. You loved what I represented. Money, status, an easy life. You never loved me. But thank you. For what? For showing me exactly what I don't want in my life. Lies, manipulation, betrayal. Goodbye, Tristan. As we drove away, Nina reviewed the day's events. The DA wants to talk to you about helping with other cases like this. Apparently, there's a whole task force forming. I watched the courthouse disappear in the rearview mirror. Tell them I'm in. It's time to turn this pain into purpose. Your mother was wrong, you know, Malik said quietly. You're nothing like her. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. No, I'm not. I'm better. The support group filled the community center's main room. Women and men of all ages sat in a circle, their faces reflecting a familiar mix of pain and determination. My name is Lexi, I began, standing before them. And like many of you, I was betrayed by someone I trusted completely. A woman in her 40s raised her hand. I saw you on the news. Your mother. She's the reason I'm here. Your story gave me courage to face my own situation. That's why we're all here, I replied, to turn our pain into power. Nina slipped into the room, giving me a subtle nod. I knew what that meant. The task force had made another arrest based on our work. After the session, Rachel approached me. Remember when I first came to you during the trial? I was broken, ashamed. Now I'm helping others rebuild their lives. You did that yourself, I smiled. I just showed you it was possible. My phone buzzed. A message from the prison chaplain. Your mother's requesting to see you again. Delete, I muttered, hitting the button. She'd been sending requests weekly since her sentencing. Still not ready? Rachel asked, seeing my expression. I don't need her version of closure, I replied. I found my own. Brandon burst through the door, waving his phone. Lexi, Tristan's giving a full interview from prison. He's naming names, exposing other scams. Your mother's entire network is crumbling. I pulled up the article on my phone. Tristan's confession was comprehensive, detailing how my mother had built her web of manipulation over decades. Look at the comments, Brandon pointed. Hundreds of people sharing similar stories, finding connections, offering support. Ms. Sullivan, a young intern from the DA's office appeared. We've found 3 more cases matching your mother's pattern. The task force needs your insight. Send me the files. I nodded. I'll review them tonight. Malik arrived as the room cleared out. Ready for dinner? Dad's waiting at the restaurant. Actually, I said, I need to make one stop first. We drove to the cemetery where Robert Walsh's family had placed a memorial stone. His daughter stood there, placing fresh flowers. Sarah, I called softly. I'm Lexi. She turned, recognition flooding her face. I've been wanting to meet you. Your mother's confession. It finally gave us answers. I'm so sorry for what she did. Don't be, Sarah said firmly. You exposed the truth. That's more than anyone else ever did. Back in the car, Malik watched me carefully. You okay? Better than okay, I replied. For the first time, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. At the restaurant, my father waited with Nina and Brandon. A small celebration for another successful prosecution of one of my mother's former accomplices. To justice, Nina raised her glass. To healing, Rachel added, joining us. To family, my father said, squeezing my hand. The real kind. My phone lit up with another prison notification. This time it was from Tristan. I know you'll never forgive me, but thank you for showing me how to make things right. I showed the message to the table. Are you going to respond? Brandon asked. No need, I replied. His actions can speak for themselves now. Speaking of actions, Nina pulled out a folder. The governor's office called. They want you to head a statewide task force on financial fraud and family abuse cases. They want me? I asked, surprised. Who better? My father said proudly. You turned personal tragedy into a mission to help others. You're not just surviving anymore, you're leading. A notification popped up on everyone's phones simultaneously. Breaking news about my mother's case leading to international fraud investigations. Your mother wanted to create a legacy of destruction, Malik observed. Instead, she created a daughter who's rebuilding everything she tried to break. We're rebuilding, I corrected, looking around the table at my chosen family. All of us. Sarah joined us, pulling up a chair. Room for one more? Always room for healing hearts. I smiled. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from the prison chaplain. Your mother asked me to tell you she's proud of what you've become. Should I relay your response? I typed quickly. Tell her thank you. She taught me exactly what kind of person I never want to be. That's the greatest gift she could have given me. Looking around the table at these faces, friends, family, fellow survivors, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not because the pain was gone, but because we'd transformed it into purpose. So, Nina raised her glass again. What's next? I smiled, thinking of all the people still needing help, still fighting their own battles against betrayal and abuse. We keep going, I replied. We keep helping, we keep healing, together. The glasses clinked, and in that moment, I knew. This wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning. My beginning. Our beginning. The bank statement trembled in my hands as I stared at the unfamiliar account number. 6 figures, quietly tucked away in some offshore haven I'd never heard of. My husband's name was right there in black and white, along with a transaction history that made my stomach turn. I'm Esme, and this is how I discovered my husband and sister had been planning to destroy my life. Jorge? I called out, my voice echoing through our empty house. The silence that greeted me was deafening. His closet stood open, half empty, like a wound in our bedroom wall. My hands shook as I dialed his number, but it went straight to voicemail. The front door clicked open. For a moment, my heart leaped, but it was just Ella, my best friend, letting herself in with the spare key. Esme, you sounded weird on the phone. What's wrong? I couldn't speak. I just handed her the statement. Holy shit, she whispered, scanning the document. When did you find this? 20 minutes ago. Jorge's gone and... My voice cracked. Sloane isn't answering her phone either. Ella's eyes widened. Your sister? No, no way. I pulled up my phone and showed her the text I'd received from my mother an hour ago. Honey, is everything okay? Sloane just called to say she's taking an unexpected trip abroad. She seemed strange. I should have seen it coming, I said, pacing the room. The late nights at work, the secretive phone calls, how they'd both go quiet when I entered the room. God, I'm such an idiot. Stop that right now. Ella grabbed my shoulders. You're not an idiot. You're an auditor, for Christ's sake. One of the best in the city. That's when it hit me. I walked to Jorge's home office, Ella following close behind. The laptop was gone, but he'd left his external hard drive. Typical Jorge, always careless with the details. What are you doing? Ella asked as I booted up my computer. Using my skills, I replied, plugging in the drive. Jorge never was good at covering his tracks. He probably thought deleting his browser history would be enough. 15 minutes of digging revealed everything. Emails, flight confirmations, property inquiries in the Cayman Islands, and photos. So many photos of them together, dating back months. That son of a bitch, Ella breathed, looking over my shoulder. And your own sister. My phone buzzed. A text from Jorge. I'm sorry. By the time you read this, we'll be gone. The divorce papers will arrive tomorrow. Please don't try to find us. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever felt before. It wasn't hot. It was ice cold and clarifying. Ella, I said, my voice steady for the first time that morning. I need you to be honest with me. Do you still have those contacts at the bank from when you worked there? She nodded slowly. Why? Because I'm not going to try to find them. I turned to face her, a plan already forming in my mind. I'm going to destroy them. Legally, methodically, and completely. Esme. Ella's voice held a note of concern. They think they're so clever, I continued, pulling up Jorge's investment portfolio. But they forgot what I do for a living. I find people's mistakes for a career. And Jorge? I pointed to a series of suspicious transactions. He's made plenty. What are you going to do? I stood up, grabbing my phone. First, I'm calling Ramon. He's still a practicing lawyer, right? Yeah, but... Good. Then I'm calling Stefan. He taught me everything I know about forensic accounting, and he owes me a favor. I felt eerily calm now, focused. They took everything from me, Ella. My marriage, my sister, my savings. But they forgot one thing. What's that? They forgot who I am. I pulled up Ramon's number. And by the time I'm done, they'll never forget again. Ella was quiet for a moment, then a slow smile spread across her face. Need a partner in crime? The legal kind, of course. Always. I pressed dial, listening to it ring. They wanted to play games? Fine, let's play. You need to see this, Ella said, barging into my home office 3 days later. She thrust her phone in my face, nearly knocking over my coffee. Instagram, public account, posted 2 hours ago. There they were, my husband and sister, lounging by an infinity pool at some luxury resort. Jorge's arm draped around Sloane's shoulders, both of them grinning like teenagers. The caption read, "Starting our new life together. Vos blessed." They're in Barbados, Ella continued, scrolling through more photos. The Royal Westmore Resort. Jorge always did have expensive taste. On my dime, I muttered, saving the photos to my evidence folder. Ramon's going to love this. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Ramon's familiar voice filled the room on speaker. Esme, I've got something. You free to meet? 30 minutes later, we sat in Ramon's downtown office, surrounded by law books and the smell of expensive coffee. So, Ramon began, spreading documents across his desk. Remember those suspicious transactions you flagged? They're connected to a shell company Jorge set up 3 months ago. He's been funneling money through it, probably thinking he's clever. But, I leaned forward, but he made a rookie mistake. The company's registered in Delaware, but he's been operating it from your home address. That's a clear violation of corporate registration laws. Ella, who'd insisted on coming along, spoke up. What does that mean for us? It means, Ramon smiled, we can freeze those assets pending investigation. He won't be able to touch that money until this is sorted out. I felt a flutter of satisfaction. How long will that take? With the evidence you've gathered, could be months, maybe longer. Ramon's eyes twinkled. Plenty of time for the rest of your plan. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Stefan, my old mentor. Perfect timing, I said, answering. You're on speaker. Esme, darling. Stefan's gravelly voice filled the room. I did some digging into that investment venture Jorge was planning. It's worse than we thought. How so? It's a classic Ponzi scheme. The whole operation's being investigated by the SEC. Jorge probably doesn't know yet, but when it breaks... Stefan chuckled. Well, let's just say his new paradise might not last long. Should we warn him? Ella asked. I shook my head. He made his bed. There's more, Stefan continued. I found something interesting in the property records. That house they're planning to buy? Jorge put down a deposit using funds from your joint account before he left. Ramon straightened in his chair. That's perfect. We can use that to establish intent to defraud. Esme, with your permission, I can file an emergency injunction today. Do it, I said without hesitation. Hit them where it hurts. After the meeting, Ella and I walked to a nearby cafe. She'd been unusually quiet. You okay? I asked as we sat down with our drinks. Just processing. It's like watching a master class in revenge. She stirred her latte. But are you sure you want to go through with all of this? It seems intense. I pulled out my phone and showed her another Instagram post from Sloan. This one showed them shopping, designer bags in hand. They're spending my money, Ella. Money I worked 60-hour weeks to earn. While they're living it up in paradise, I'm sleeping in an empty house with a broken heart. Fair point. Besides, I continued, this isn't just about revenge, it's about justice. And maybe... I paused, considering my words carefully. Maybe it's about making sure they never do this to anyone else. My phone lit up with a text from Ramon. Injunction filed. They'll be served within 24 hours. Prepare for fallout. I showed Ella the message, and a slow smile spread across her face. Well then, I guess paradise is about to get a little less peaceful. You know what the funny thing is? I said, finishing my coffee. Jorge always said I was too focused on my career, too detail-oriented. Called me boring once. And now those same skills are going to be his undoing. Ella finished. Exactly. I stood up, gathering my things. Come on, we need to meet Stefan. He said he found something about an estate loophole we need to discuss. As we left the cafe, I caught my reflection in the window. For the first time since finding that bank statement, I was smiling. It wasn't a happy smile exactly, but it was the smile of someone who had finally found their power again. And I was just getting started. Stefan's office hadn't changed in the decade since I'd worked under him. Same worn leather chairs, same wall of financial texts, same smell of Earl Grey tea. The investment scheme is worse than we thought, Stefan said, sliding a folder across his desk. Jorge's planning to sink your savings into a development project in Costa Rica. On paper, it looks legitimate. In reality... He tapped the documents with his finger. I flipped through the pages, my auditor's brain immediately spotting the red flags. These profit projections are impossible. Exactly. Stefan leaned back. The whole thing's a house of cards. The developer's been under investigation for months. Jorge's about to lose everything he stole from you, and he doesn't even know it. Unless someone warns the authorities first. Ella chimed in from her corner chair. Stefan's eyes met mine. My thoughts exactly. An anonymous tip from a concerned financial professional could speed things along. My phone buzzed. A text from Ramon. Injunction served. Check your email. I pulled up my inbox to find a video attachment. The security camera footage from the Royal Westmore Resort showed Jorge being handed the legal documents poolside. His face turned from confusion to rage in seconds. Sloan, sitting beside him, jumped up and started gesturing wildly. Oh, this is better than Netflix, Ella said, watching over my shoulder. That's just the appetizer, Stefan said, pulling out another folder. Remember that estate planning we did last year? The one Jorge insisted on? Of course, he was obsessed with protecting our assets. Well, Stefan smiled. He made a crucial mistake. The trust he set up? He never filed the final paperwork to remove your access. You're still listed as primary trustee. I sat up straighter. What does that mean? It means you can legally challenge any major financial decisions he makes using trust assets, including, Stefan paused for effect, that luxury condo they just put a deposit on. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from Jorge. What the hell are you doing? Call off your lawyers, or you'll regret it. Empty threats, Ramon said when I called him. He's panicking. The development company just got served with a federal warrant, and your anonymous tip about Jorge's involvement is being investigated. How long until it all falls apart? Days, maybe hours. The SEC doesn't mess around with these cases. That evening, Ella and I sat on my patio, watching the sunset and sipping wine. My laptop was open, showing Jorge and Sloane's increasingly frantic social media posts. "Look at this one," Ella pointed. "Sometimes people try to destroy you, but karma knows the truth. The irony is incredible." "They still think they're the victims," I said, closing the laptop. "Even now." "Speaking of karma," Ella hesitated. "Stefan mentioned something about Sloane's old trust fund. The one from your grandparents?" "What about it?" "Apparently, there's a morality clause. If any beneficiary is found to be involved in fraudulent activities..." I nearly choked on my wine. "Are you serious?" "Stefan's looking into it, but if it's true and if Jorge's investment scheme is proven fraudulent, Sloane loses everything. Not just what they stole from me, but her inheritance too." The thought should have made me sad. Instead, I felt oddly peaceful. My phone lit up with a notification. The SEC had issued their preliminary findings on the Costa Rica development scheme. Jorge's name was prominently featured. "Turn on the news," I texted Ramon. Minutes later, the story broke across financial networks. "Major investment fraud uncovered. Dozens of investors at risk." Jorge's company was listed among the primary participants. Ella refreshed Instagram. Jorge and Sloane's accounts had both gone dark. "What now?" she asked. "Now we wait," I said, pouring more wine. "The dominoes are falling exactly where they should." My phone buzzed one final time that evening. A message from Sloane. "Sis, please, we need to talk. Things aren't what they seem." I showed the message to Ella, who snorted. The nerve of her. "You know what's funny?" I said, deleting the message without responding. "They thought they were so clever, running off to paradise with my money. But they forgot the most important thing about paradise." "What's that?" "Paradise is expensive. And now?" I smiled, watching the last rays of sun disappear. Now they can't afford it. The next morning, Stefan called with news that made everything even sweeter. "The morality clause is valid," he said. "And Sloane's trust fund? It's already been frozen pending investigation." I hung up and looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who'd found that bank statement just days ago. She was stronger, sharper, and she wasn't done yet, not by a long shot. "You're not going to believe what I found," Ramon announced, striding into my office without knocking. His tie was loose, and he clutched a stack of papers like they were made of gold. "The estate loophole?" I asked, clearing space on my desk. "Better." He spread out the documents. "Sloane's been playing both sides. Look at these transfer records." I scanned the papers, my jaw dropping. Hidden accounts, secret transfers, all in Sloane's name alone. She'd been siphoning money from Jorge, even as they planned their escape together. "Your sister's been busy," Ramon said. "She's got accounts Jorge doesn't know about. She's been skimming from the money he stole from you." Ella, who'd been typing at her laptop, let out a low whistle. "A thief stealing from a thief. That's almost poetic." "It gets better," Ramon continued. "Remember that property they bought in Barbados? Sloane put her name on the deed, not his. Jorge has no legal claim to it." I sat back, processing this information. "Does he know?" "Not yet, but he will." Ramon's grin was wolfish. "The property records are public. Anyone could find them." "Anyone like an anonymous tip to Jorge's lawyer?" Ella suggested. "Exactly." I pulled up my email. "Send everything you've got, Ramon. I want to do this right." While Ramon compiled the documents, my phone buzzed with a notification. Another Instagram post from Sloane, this one showing her alone at a beachfront restaurant. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to look out for yourself. Your self-care, you're blessed." "Look at the background," Ella said, pointing at my screen. "That's not the Royal Westmore. She's moved to a different hotel." I checked the location tag. "The Azure Bay Resort. That's on the other side of the island from where Jorge's staying." "They're already splitting up?" Ella asked. "No," I smiled. "They're just not as united as they thought they were, and it's about to get worse." Ramon finished organizing the files. "Done. Want me to send the anonymous tip?" "Not yet." I pulled up property records on my computer. "First, let's make sure the estate loophole is properly exploited. Stefan said I'm still primary trustee, right?" "Right, which means I can challenge any property purchases made with trust assets." I started typing, "including that luxury condo they put a deposit on." 2 hours later, everything was in place. The property challenge was filed, the trust assets were frozen, and Ramon's anonymous tip about Sloane's secret accounts was ready to go. "Send it," I told Ramon. He hit send, then looked at his watch. Given the time difference, Jorge's lawyer should see this in about an hour. "Perfect timing," Ella said, showing me her phone. "Look who just posted." Jorge's latest Instagram story showed him at a business meeting, trying to salvage what he could of his investments. The caption, "Building our future, one deal at a time. Entrepreneur life." "Should we tell him there won't be any deals?" Ella asked. "No need," I replied. "His lawyer will do that for us." My phone rang. It was Stefan. "The trust freeze just went through," he said without preamble. "All assets are locked pending review, including that condo deposit." "How long will the review take?" "With the evidence we've submitted, months at least. Maybe longer if we find more irregularities." He paused. "Which, knowing Jorge's financial habits, we probably will." Just then, Ella gasped. "Esme, look at this." She turned her laptop around. On the screen was an email from one of her banking contacts. Sloane had just tried to transfer a large sum from one of her secret accounts, and the transfer had been denied. "The freeze is working," Ramon said, reading over my shoulder. "She can't access any of it." My phone buzzed again. A text from Sloane. "What have you done? This isn't fair." Before I could respond, another message came through, this time from Jorge. "My lawyer just called. What the hell is going on with Sloane?" I showed the messages to Ella and Ramon, and now they turn on each other. "You're not going to respond?" Ella asked. "No need." I closed my laptop. "They'll do all the work for us." Ramon gathered his papers. "Want me to keep monitoring the situation?" "Please. And Ramon?" I called as he reached the door. "Thank you for everything." He nodded. "Justice isn't always swift, but it is sweet." After he left, Ella and I sat in silence for a moment. Finally, she spoke. "You okay?" "You know what?" I said, surprising myself with the truth in my words. "I really am. For the first time since this all started, I feel like I'm winning." "You're not just winning," Ella corrected. "You're demolishing them." My phone buzzed one more time. Another text from Jorge. "We need to talk. Please." I deleted it without responding. The time for talking was long past. Now was the time for consequences. "The foreclosure notices just went out," Ramon announced, his voice crackling through my speakerphone. "Both properties. They should receive them by tomorrow morning." I sat at my kitchen table, watching the sunrise with my morning coffee. "How long until they have to vacate?" 30 days. And that's being generous, considering the circumstances. Ella walked in, already dressed for work, and mouthed, "Is that Ramon?" I nodded. "Any movement on their accounts?" I asked. "Frozen solid. Sloane tried to access her trust fund again yesterday. Got denied. Jorge's been calling his investment partners non-stop, but nobody's taking his calls anymore. Not since the SEC investigation made the news." My phone buzzed with a text notification. Ella picked it up and burst out laughing. "Oh, you have to see this. Sloane's posting about toxic people and negative energy on Instagram." "From the Azure Bay Resort?" I asked. "Not anymore. The geotag shows she's at some budget hotel now. Guess paradise got too expensive." Ramon cleared his throat. "There's something else. A letter arrived at my office this morning, from Jorge. He wants me to give it to you." My stomach tightened. "What does it say?" "Haven't opened it. It's addressed to you personally. Want me to bring it over?" I looked at Ella, who nodded encouragingly. "Okay, but come during lunch. I want both of you here when I read it." The morning crawled by. I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting to the letter. What could Jorge possibly have to say now? At noon, Ramon arrived with a cream-colored envelope in hand. "It's heavy," he said, placing it on my kitchen counter. "Open it," Ella urged, perching on a bar stool. I took a deep breath and tore open the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, several pages long. "Dear Esme," I read aloud. "By now you must know everything has fallen apart. The investments, the properties, all of it. I made a terrible mistake." "Damn right you did," Ella muttered. "I know I hurt you in the worst possible way," I continued reading. "But Sloane, she's not who I thought she was. She's been lying to me, stealing from me. I should have known better. You were always the honest one, the reliable one." Ramon snorted. Now he remembers that? "I know I have no right to ask anything of you," the letter went on, "but please, can we meet? Just once? I need to explain everything. I've made such a mess of things, and I think you're the only one who can help me fix it." "Fix it?" Ella practically shouted. Is he serious? I folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. He's desperate. The money's gone, Sloane's betrayed him, and his reputation is ruined. Are you going to meet him? Ramon asked carefully. Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a news alert. The SEC had expanded their investigation into Jorge's investment scheme. The headline included words like widespread fraud and potential criminal charges. Yes, I said finally. I'll meet him. What? Ella and Ramon exclaimed simultaneously. In a public place with both of you nearby. I held up my hand to stop their protests. Think about it. He's cornered, desperate. That makes him vulnerable. And vulnerable people tend to reveal things they shouldn't. Ramon's eyes lit up with understanding. You want to get him to incriminate himself? Exactly. Every word he says can be used against him later. I picked up my phone. Besides, I want to see his face when he realizes just how completely he's lost everything. You're scary sometimes, Ella said admiringly. You know that? I learned from the best. I smiled at Ramon. Can you set up the meeting? Somewhere public, lots of witnesses? Leave it to me. He pulled out his phone. And Esme, be careful. Desperate people can be dangerous. I know. I walked to my window, looking out at the city below. But so can I. Just then, another news alert popped up on my phone. The Azure Bay Resort was evicting Sloane for unpaid bills. The attached photo showed her arguing with hotel security in the lobby. Karma really is something, Ella mused, reading over my shoulder. It's not karma, I corrected her. It's consequences, and they're just beginning. I typed a quick response to Jorge's letter, agreeing to meet him in 2 days at a busy downtown cafe. As I hit send, I felt strangely calm. The pieces were all falling into place, exactly as planned. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Sloane. Whatever Jorge tells you is a lie. I can explain everything. I deleted it without responding. Let them fight among themselves. Their desperation would only make what came next easier. The reckoning was about to begin. The cafe buzzed with lunchtime activity as I sat waiting, a cup of untouched coffee growing cold in front of me. Ella was positioned at a table across the room, pretending to work on her laptop. Ramon waited outside in his car, ready if needed. Jorge walked in exactly at noon, looking nothing like the confident man who'd left me weeks ago. His designer clothes had been replaced by wrinkled khakis and an untucked shirt. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Esme, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. Thank you for meeting me. You have 15 minutes, I replied, checking my watch. Make them count. He ran his hands through his unkempt hair. Everything's falling apart. The investments, the properties. Sloane's been stealing from me. Can you believe that? Actually, I can. I took a sip of my cold coffee. It must be awful being betrayed by someone you trusted. He missed the irony completely. I've lost everything. The SEC is breathing down my neck. The banks have frozen all my accounts. He leaned forward. But you can help me. You understand finance better than anyone I know. Like I understood it when I warned you about those risky investments months ago? He flinched. I should have listened to you then. I see that now. No, I corrected him. You should have not stolen my money and run off with my sister. That was a mistake, he said quickly. I wasn't thinking clearly. Sloane, she manipulated me. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table, voice recorder running. Really? Tell me more about how my sister manipulated you into emptying our joint accounts. He didn't notice the trap. She said we could triple the money in 6 months. She had all these connections, these plans. But she was lying, Esme. She took half of what I took from you and hid it in separate accounts. That must have been shocking to discover. It was. And now she's threatening to go to the SEC herself if I don't give her more money. He laughed bitterly. Money I don't even have anymore. I leaned back, letting him talk himself deeper into trouble. Across the room, I saw Ella typing furiously, documenting every word. The thing is, Jorge continued, if you could just help me access some of the frozen assets, I could fix everything. Pay everyone back, make it right. Like you were going to make it right when you left me that divorce notice? He had the decency to look ashamed. I was wrong about everything. You were always the smart one, the stable one. I see that now. Interesting. I pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. Is that why you tried to hide these offshore accounts from the divorce proceedings? His face went pale. Where did you get those? I'm an auditor, Jorge. Finding hidden money is what I do. I stood up. And by the way, the SEC will be very interested in these records. Wait, he grabbed my arm. Please don't do this. I'll give you anything you want. I pulled free from his grip. You already took everything I had. But here's the funny thing. You gave me something in return. What's that? Clarity. I gathered my things. Oh, and one more thing. You might want to ask Sloan about the photos she's been sending to the FBI's fraud division. Turns out she's been building her own insurance policy against you for months. The color drained from his face. What photos? The ones showing you meeting with known fraudsters. The ones with dates and times that match perfectly with your suspicious wire transfers. I smiled. My sister may be many things, but she's not stupid. She's been playing you from the start. You're lying, he whispered, but his eyes showed doubt. Check your phone, I said, walking away. I'm sure the FBI will be in touch soon. As I reached the door, I turned back one last time. 15 minutes are up, by the way. Goodbye, Jorge. Outside, Ramon was waiting with his car door open. How did it go? Better than expected. I handed him my phone. Got everything on record. He admitted to the theft, the fraud, everything. And the FBI photos? Ella asked, joining us. Was that true about Sloan? No, I smiled. But it will be by tonight. Ramon, can you send those surveillance photos we've been holding on to the FBI's tip line? With pleasure. As we drove away, I saw Jorge through the cafe window, frantically typing on his phone. By now, he'd be discovering that Sloan had blocked his number. You know what the best part is? I said to Ella. He still thinks he's the victim in all this. Not for long, she replied. Not after the FBI gets those photos. My phone buzzed with a text from Sloan. We need to talk. Now. I showed it to Ella, who grinned. Ready for round 2? More than ready, I replied. It's time to end this. Sloan looked nothing like the polished Instagram photos when she showed up at my door unannounced. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her makeup smudged, and her usual confidence replaced by desperate energy. You have to help me, she blurted out before I could speak. The FBI is asking questions, my accounts are frozen, and the hotel just kicked me out. That sounds like a personal problem, I replied, not inviting her in. I'm your sister. She tried to push past me, but I held my ground. Were you my sister when you ran off with my husband? She deflated slightly. That's complicated. Look, can I just come in, please? I can explain everything. I stepped aside, letting her enter. Ella sat at my kitchen counter, arms crossed, while Ramon stood by the window recording everything on his phone. Oh, Sloan faltered. I didn't realize you had company. They're here for my protection, I said coldly. You have 5 minutes. Protection? From me? I'm your little sister. She dropped her designer bag on the floor. Jorge manipulated me. He said he loved me, that you didn't understand him. Save it. I cut her off. I saw the bank records. You were stealing from him while he was stealing from me. Her face changed, calculation replacing desperation. Okay, fine. Yes, I took some money, but he deserved it. He was planning to dump me anyway, once he got everything set up offshore. And that justifies betraying your own sister? You always had everything, she exploded. The perfect job, the perfect house, the perfect life. You don't know what it's like living in your shadow. Shadow? I laughed incredulously. You were Mom and Dad's favorite. They paid for your college, your car, your apartment. I worked for everything I have. Had, she corrected with a sneer. Everything you had. The room went silent. Even Ella inhaled sharply. You're right, I said quietly. Everything I had. But here's what you don't understand, Sloan. While you were busy taking my things, I was busy building a trap. What are you talking about? I nodded to Ramon, who pulled out his tablet. Show her. He turned the screen towards Sloan. On it were dozens of photos. Her secret meetings with Jorge, the offshore bank visits, the cash transfers, all meticulously documented with dates and times. How did you... she started. I'm an auditor, I reminded her. Finding evidence is what I do, and you two left quite a trail. Those photos mean nothing, she said, but her voice wavered. The FBI disagrees. They're especially interested in the ones showing you and Jorge meeting with known financial criminals. I stepped closer. By the way, how's that trust fund looking? Her face went pale. You wouldn't dare. The morality clause has already been triggered. The trustees are meeting next week to discuss your permanent removal as a beneficiary. You can't do this to me. She grabbed my arm. I'm family. I pulled free. Family doesn't steal from family, and now you get to learn what it really means to have nothing. I'll tell everyone what you did, she threatened. How you set us up, trapped us. Go ahead, Ramon spoke up. Tell them how you and Jorge committed federal crimes, and Esme simply gathered evidence. I'm sure the FBI would love to hear your version. Sloane's shoulders slumped. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Your 5 minutes are up, I said, opening the front door. Goodbye, Sloane. Please, she whispered. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before you destroyed my life. I gestured to the door. I hear the downtown hostel has weekly rates. She picked up her bag, tears streaming down her face. You've changed, she said accusingly. No, I corrected her. I just stopped being your victim. After she left, Ella let out a long breath. That was intense. Send the recording to the FBI, I told Ramon, along with those photos we've been holding back. Already done, he replied, typing on his phone. They're particularly interested in the offshore account numbers she just inadvertently confirmed. My phone buzzed. A text from Jorge. What did you tell Sloane? She's hysterical. I deleted it without responding and turned to my friends. Thank you both. For everything. Are you okay? Ella asked softly. I walked to my window, watching Sloane's expensive car, bought with my money, pull away from the curb. You know what? I really am. I turned back to them. For the first time since this all started, I feel free. Free, Ella repeated. I like that. My phone buzzed one final time. A notification from the FBI. They wanted to schedule a formal interview about Jorge and Sloane's financial activities. I smiled. The endgame was finally here. The morning sun streamed through my office window as I finished typing the last blog post of my story. The cursor blinked at me, waiting for the final words. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Financial fraud ring. Busted. Multiple arrests made. The accompanying photo showed Jorge being led away in handcuffs, his designer suit replaced by a rumpled dress shirt. Did you see the news? Ella burst into my office, waving her phone. They got him, and guess who turned state's evidence? Sloane, I said, already knowing. She always was good at saving herself. The FBI agent called. Ramon added, walking in behind her. Said your evidence was instrumental in breaking the case. They found connections to 3 other fraud schemes. I minimized the news article and returned to my blog post. The cursor still blinked, waiting. What are you writing? Ella peered over my shoulder. My story, all of it, from the moment I found that bank statement to now. I gestured to the screen. I'm just trying to find the right ending. Why share it? Ramon asked, genuinely curious. Because somewhere out there, someone else is going through what I did. Feeling helpless, betrayed, lost. I turned to face them. They need to know they can fight back. Legally, methodically, effectively. Speaking of fighting back, Ella grinned, pulling up another news article. Look who's trending. The headline read, Socialite Sisters Fall from Grace, Trust Fund Revoked. Below was a picture of Sloane leaving a budget motel, trying to hide her face from photographers. The trustees made it official this morning, Ramon confirmed. The morality clause was ironclad. She's cut off completely. My phone lit up with a text from my mother. Just saw the news. We need to talk about your sister. Not today, I muttered, declining the call. You'll have to deal with them eventually, Ella said gently. I know, but right now I need to finish this. I turned back to my computer and began typing. This isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about justice, about standing up for yourself when the people closest to you try to tear you down, about using your skills and knowledge to right wrongs instead of letting them destroy you. My husband and sister thought they could take everything from me, my money, my dignity, my trust in others. But they forgot something crucial. They forgot who I am, an auditor, a professional, someone who knows that every transaction leaves a trail. Every lie creates a pattern, and every betrayal contains the seeds of its own destruction. To those reading this who've been betrayed, you're not powerless. You're not alone. And you're certainly not finished. Use your skills. Trust your instincts. Build your evidence. Justice may not come quickly, but it does come. As for me, I'm not the same person who found that bank statement all those weeks ago. I'm stronger, wiser, and finally completely free. I hit publish and sat back. Perfect, Ella whispered, squeezing my shoulder. Ramon's phone buzzed. The FBI wants to know if you'll consult on similar cases. Apparently your methods impressed them. I smiled. Tell them I'll think about it. What now? Ella asked. Now? I stood up and gathered my things. Now we celebrate. I'm thinking champagne on my patio. The one Jorge always complained was too small? Ella laughed. The very one. And afterward, I'm redecorating the whole house. My way this time. As we headed out, my phone buzzed one last time. A comment on my blog post. Thank you. I thought I was alone. You gave me hope. See? Ella pointed at the comment, already making a difference. Outside, the city stretched before us, bright and full of possibilities. My house keys jingled in my hand, the keys to a home that was truly mine now, free from lies and betrayal. You know what the best revenge is? I said as we walked to my car. What's that? Ramon asked. Living well and helping others do the same. We drove away, leaving behind the old story of betrayal and beginning a new one of strength, justice, and redemption. Not just for me, but for anyone else who needed to find their way back to themselves. The sun was setting as we raised our glasses on my too small patio, which suddenly felt exactly right. To justice, Ramon proposed. To friendship, Ella added. I lifted my glass, watching the light catch the bubbles. To new beginnings, and somewhere in the city, my blog post continued to spread, carrying a message of hope to others who needed it most. You can fight back. You can win. You can rebuild. You just have to know how to play the long game.
The morning I lost everything started like any other. I was reviewing quarterly projections in my corner office when Rory walked in without knocking. His face set in that practiced, neutral expression I'd come to recognize from difficult client meetings. We need to talk, Heidi. I smiled, not yet understanding. Can it wait? I'm finalizing the numbers for the Sylvia presentation. No. He closed the door behind him. It can't. The next 15 minutes shattered my world. My husband of 12 years, the man I'd built this company with from our garage, stood there explaining why I needed to step down. His words felt like ice water running down my spine. The board agrees. We need a different direction. More aggressive expansion, less nurturing approach. He adjusted his tie, a nervous tell I'd noticed years ago when we first started dating. You understand, right? It's just business. Just business? My voice cracked. I founded this company with you. I brought in Sylvia. And we appreciate everything you've done. He cut in smoothly. But times change. The severance package is generous. I stared at the manila envelope he placed on my desk. Through the glass walls, I could see our employees pretending not to watch. Some had been with us since the beginning, when we were just two ambitious kids with a dream and a business plan. Does Vienna know? I asked, thinking of our daughter. Let's keep work and family separate, he replied, as if they hadn't been intertwined for the past decade. You'll always be her mother. How magnanimous of you. I stood up, my legs shaking. When? Security will help you pack up. Today. The reality hit me like a physical blow. Today? You're doing this today? He checked his watch. I have a board meeting in 20 minutes. HR has the paperwork ready. I looked around my office. The photos of Vienna's first day of school, the award we'd won last year for innovation, the plant Sylvia had given me when we landed her account. All of it, built on trust and partnership, now tainted by betrayal. You know what? I opened my drawer and pulled out my laptop. Keep the photos, keep everything. I grabbed my purse and the external hard drive I'd been backing up files to. Standard protocol for quarterly reviews. Heidi, don't. I held up my hand. Just don't. As I walked past our employees' desks, their eyes followed me. Maria from accounting looked close to tears. Tom from IT quickly minimized whatever he was working on. I'd hired both of them. Mrs. Young? Our security guard, Pete, approached awkwardly. I'm supposed to escort me out? It's okay, Pete. I know the way. In the parking garage, I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My phone buzzed. A text from Rory. Let's discuss this at home later. Home. Where we'd planned this company over late-night coffee and dreams. Where we'd celebrated our first major contract. Where our daughter was probably doing homework right now, unaware that her parents' partnership had just imploded. I started the engine, but instead of turning left toward home, I turned right. The external hard drive sat heavy in my purse, along with a decade of institutional knowledge Rory couldn't erase with a severance package. My phone buzzed again. Sylvia's name flashed on the screen. Heidi, what's going on? Rory just canceled our meeting for tomorrow. I took a deep breath. Sylvia, can we meet? There's something you need to know. Of course, come to my office now. On my way. I ended the call, a plan already forming. Rory wanted to talk about this at home later? Fine. But first, I had a meeting with our biggest client, the one whose trust I'd earned through years of personal attention, the one whose account Rory had always taken credit for, the one who had no idea she was about to become my first client at my new venture. As I pulled onto the highway, my phone buzzed one more time. A text from my sister Beatrice, whom I hadn't spoken to in months. Just heard through the grapevine. Are you okay? I hadn't been okay in the 15 minutes since Rory walked into my office. But I would be. Because while he was sitting in his board meeting, probably congratulating himself on handling things so smoothly, he had no idea what I'd discovered during those late nights reviewing the books. No idea at all about the irregularities I'd found in our international accounts, or the pattern of transfers I'd noticed but hadn't mentioned yet, or the way those transfers always seemed to end up in the same place overseas. I typed back to Beatrice. No, but I could use your help with something. The response came immediately. Name it. I smiled for the first time since Rory had walked into my office. He wanted to talk about this at home later? Oh, we'd talk. But first I had some calls to make and some truths to uncover. Sylvia's office always reminded me of a war room, with its wall-to-wall windows and commanding view of the city. She stood as I entered, her expression concerned. You look like hell, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. Thanks. I managed a weak smile. It's been that kind of morning. Tell me everything. She leaned forward, elbows on her desk. And don't leave anything out. I laid it all out. The ambush, the dismissal, the generous severance package. With each detail, Sylvia's frown deepened. That snake, she muttered. After everything you've built together? Apparently my nurturing approach isn't aggressive enough anymore. Sylvia barked out a laugh. Nurturing? You're the one who negotiated that merger last year when everyone said it was impossible. You're the reason I trusted your company with my business in the first place. About that, I pulled out my laptop. I need to show you something. For the next hour, I walked her through projections, strategies, and plans I'd been developing. Things I'd meant to present tomorrow, before Rory pulled the rug out from under me. So, I concluded, I'm starting my own firm, and I want you to come with me. Sylvia stood and walked to her window, silent for a long moment. You know what this will do to him, don't you? Yes. She turned back to me, a slow smile spreading across her face. Good. When can you start? My phone buzzed. Another text from Rory. Where are you? We need to talk. I can start immediately, I told Sylvia. I already have office space lined up. A lie, but I'd make it true before the day was over. Then let's make it official. She pressed her intercom. Janet, get legal up here. We're transferring our contract. My phone buzzed again. Beatrice this time. Met with that contact I mentioned. You're going to want to see this. Excuse me, I said to Sylvia. I need to make a quick call. In the hallway, I dialed Beatrice. She answered on the first ring. Remember those transfers you mentioned? She said without preamble. I had my friend at the bank take a look. Heidi, there's a pattern. Monthly payments, same amount, going to an account in Switzerland. My hands started shaking. How long? 3 years, and that's not all. The account holder? It's registered to a woman named Anna. She's got 2 kids, Heidi, ages 2 and 4. The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. Send me everything. Back in Sylvia's office, lawyers were already gathering. I signed papers with steady hands, my mind racing with calculations. 3 years, 2 kids. All while Rory and I were trying for a second child, all while he told me the timing wasn't right. My phone lit up with a call from Vienna's school. Mrs. Young? Your husband tried to pick up Vienna early, but she's refusing to leave without hearing from you. Of course he had. He was trying to control the narrative, just like always. Put her on, please. Mom? Vienna's voice was small. Dad says you're sick and we need to go home, but you seemed fine this morning. Listen to me carefully, sweetheart. I'm not sick. I'm handling some important business. Stay at school, okay? I'll pick you up myself at normal time. Promise? Promise. I ended the call to find Sylvia watching me. Need help with anything else? She asked quietly. Actually, yes. Can you recommend a good divorce attorney? She smiled. I know just the person. By the time I left Sylvia's office, 3 things had happened. I'd secured my biggest client, found temporary office space in the building next door, and scheduled a meeting with one of the city's top divorce lawyers for tomorrow morning. My phone had 17 missed calls from Rory and 1 text from Beatrice. Got the address in Switzerland. When do we move? I typed back. Not yet. First, we gather everything. Then we burn it all down. Walking into my temporary office, a sparse but serviceable space with a view of my old building, I allowed myself a moment to breathe. Through the window, I could see Rory's office. He was pacing, phone to his ear, probably trying to figure out where I'd gone. My own phone rang again. This time it was Richard, Rory's father. Heidi, what's happening? Rory's called me 3 times, talking about restructuring and necessary changes. Richard, I said carefully, I think you should come to town. There are some things you need to know about your son. I'll be there tomorrow. I ended the call and watched Rory's office again. He had no idea what was coming. No idea that while he was trying to push me out of my own company, I was about to expose every lie he'd ever told. My phone buzzed 1 final time. A text from Vienna. Mom, are you really okay? Yes, sweetheart, I wrote back. And soon everything will be better than okay. I meant it too, because sometimes the best revenge isn't just about getting even, it's about getting free. The external hard drive hummed as I connected it to my laptop. Beatrice sat beside me in my temporary office, her fingers flying over her own keyboard as she traced the money trail. Look at this, she said, turning her screen toward me. Every transfer coincides with a business trip to Europe. I pulled up my own calendar history. Munich conference, Geneva symposium, Zurich investment meeting. My throat tightened. I remember asking to go with him to the Munich one. He said it would be boring for me. Because his other family was there. Beatrice's voice was hard. Here's something else. Private school tuition payments for both kids, expensive ones. A knock at the door made us both jump. Richard stood there, looking older than I remembered. The security guard downstairs said I'd find you here. He stepped inside, taking in the sparse office. Want to tell me what's really going on? I gestured to a chair. You might want to sit down for this. For the next 30 minutes, we walked Richard through everything. The sudden dismissal, the discovered transfers, the Swiss account. His face grew grayer with each revelation. 2 children, he whispered. I have 2 grandchildren I've never met. My phone buzzed. Rory again. Vienna's asking questions. What have you told her? I ignored it. Instead, I opened another file on my laptop. There's more, Richard. Look at these company purchases. Beatrice leaned in. Private jet rentals, luxury hotel bookings, all under the guise of business expenses. But used for personal trips to his other family, I finished. Richard stood abruptly, pacing the small office. I gave him his first loan to start this company, convinced my friends to invest. He stopped facing me. What do you need from me? Just the truth, I said. When this all comes out? When what comes out? Rory's voice cut through the room like a blade. We all turned. He stood in the doorway, his carefully controlled expression slipping when he saw his father. Dad? What are you doing here? Funny, Richard replied. I was about to ask you the same thing about Switzerland. The color drained from Rory's face. His eyes darted to my laptop, the external drive, Beatrice's presence. I could almost see him calculating, formulating explanations. Whatever Heidi's told you, he started. Save it. I stood up. How are Anna and the kids? Did you enjoy Munich? He took a step forward. You're upset about the company, I get it. But dragging my father into this, making up stories? Stories? Beatrice turned her laptop around, displaying bank statements, travel records, school payments. These look pretty real to me. You had no right to access those. Rory's composure cracked. Actually, I said quietly, as co-owner of the company, I had every right. Just like I had the right to know my husband was financing another family with our profits. Richard moved between us. How long, Rory? How long have you been lying to everyone? Dad, please. How long? 5 years, he finally admitted. The relationship started 5 years ago. The kids came later. The timeline hit me like a physical blow. 5 years ago, I'd had a miscarriage. Rory had been working late a lot then, leaving me to process the loss alone. My phone buzzed again. Vienna's school. Mrs. Young, your daughter's quite upset. She overheard some teachers talking about her parents' company. I'll be right there, I said, gathering my things. Richard, would you like to meet your granddaughter? The one you actually know about? He nodded, still staring at his son. I'd like that very much. Heidi, wait. Rory stepped forward. We can talk about this. Figure something out. Like you figured out how to hide a second family? Or how to push me out of my own company? I walked to the door, then turned back. By the way, Sylvia signed with me this morning. Exclusive contract. His face contorted. You can't... I can. I did. And that's just the beginning. I looked at Beatrice. Send everything to the lawyer. All of it. She nodded, already typing. Dad. Rory tried again. But Richard was already following me out. In the elevator, he put a hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, he said. I had no idea. Neither did I. I checked my phone. Another text from Beatrice. Found more accounts. This goes deeper than we thought. The elevator doors opened to the lobby. Through the glass doors, I could see Vienna's school car line forming. In a few minutes, I'd have to explain to my daughter why her world was changing. But first, I typed back to Beatrice. Keep digging. He's hidden things for years. Time to bring them all to light. Richard squeezed my shoulder again. What are you going to tell her? The truth, I said, because that's the one thing her father never could. Above us, I knew Rory was probably already calling his lawyers, his bankers, trying to contain the damage. But some things can't be contained once they start spilling out. And I was just getting started. Vienna sat between Richard and me at our favorite ice cream parlor, pushing her sundae around with a spoon. The after-school crowd buzzed around us, but our booth felt like an island of quiet tension. So Dad's been lying? She finally asked. About everything? Not about loving you, I said quickly. That part's real. But he has another family? Other kids? Her voice cracked. Why wasn't I enough? Richard set down his coffee. Vienna, sweetheart, this isn't about you not being enough. This is about your father making terrible choices. My phone lit up with a text from Beatrice. You need to see this now. Can you step away? I'll be right back, I told them, heading toward the restroom. Once inside, I called Beatrice. What is it? The Swiss account was just emptied, she said. All of it. Transferred to another account 10 minutes ago. My heart raced. Can you trace it? Already did. It's going to an account in Singapore. Heidi, it's a lot of money. Like multiple millions. Company money, I said, my voice hard. Our investors' money. Exactly. And there's something else. I found emails between Rory and Anna. She's threatening to expose everything unless he moves them to the States. I leaned against the wall. When? The emails are from last week. Looks like she's given him until the end of the month. A knock on the door startled me. Mom? Vienna called. Grandpa wants to know if you're okay. Be right out. I turned back to the phone. Send everything to the lawyer. And Beatrice, thank you for helping me through this. That's what sisters are for. She paused. Even if we haven't been great at being sisters lately. Back at the table, Vienna had moved to Richard's side, her head on his shoulder. My phone buzzed again. Rory, of course. The board wants an emergency meeting. What have you told them? Nothing yet, I typed back. But I will. Richard looked up from his phone. Rory's trying to call me. Should I answer? Your choice, I said. He declined the call. Vienna straightened suddenly. Can we go home? I want to get some things from my room. The thought of returning to that house made my stomach turn, but I nodded. Of course. The drive was quiet. As we pulled into the driveway, I saw Rory's car wasn't there. Probably still at the office, damage control mode in full swing. Inside, Vienna ran upstairs while Richard and I stood in the kitchen. The kitchen where Rory and I had planned our future, where we'd celebrated victories, where he'd sat drinking coffee while texting his other family. I'll help her pack some things, Richard said quietly. My phone rang. Sylvia this time. Rory's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning, she said without preamble. He's claiming you stole proprietary information. I laughed bitterly. Funny how he's worried about theft now. I've already told them I'm terminating our contract with them, but Heidi, he's desperate. Be careful. A crash from upstairs cut our conversation short. I ran up to find Vienna in her father's home office, a broken picture frame at her feet. It was from our last family vacation, before I knew everything had been a lie. I hate him, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I hate what he did to us. I moved to hug her, but she stepped back, pointing at Rory's desk. Look, a drawer was partially open, revealing a stack of passports. I pulled them out, one for Rory, 3 others for Anna and the children, all brand new. He was going to bring them here, Vienna said. Wasn't he? Before I could answer, we heard the front door open. Heidi? Rory's voice called up. Vienna, we need to talk. Richard appeared in the doorway. Take Vienna to my house, he whispered. I'll deal with him. I grabbed the passports in Vienna's hand. Backstairs, I mouthed. We crept down the back staircase as Rory's footsteps climbed the main one. Through the kitchen, out the back door, across the yard to where my car was parked on the side street. As we pulled away, I could hear raised voices from the house. Richard and Rory, their argument carrying through open windows. Mom? Vienna's voice was small. Are we ever coming back? I glanced in the rearview mirror at the house that had held so many memories, so many lies. No, sweetheart, we're not. My phone buzzed with a text from Beatrice. Got a room ready at my place. Gunner's making his famous pasta. Then another from Richard. He's looking for the passports. Told him I haven't seen them. Be safe. And finally, one from my lawyer. Emergency injunction filed. Meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bring everything. I looked at the passports on the seat beside me, then at Vienna in the mirror. Ready for pasta at Aunt Beatrice's? She nodded, wiping her eyes. Mom, promise me something? Anything. Promise no more lies. I reached back and squeezed her hand. I promise. From now on, only truth. Behind us, the sunset on our old life as we drove toward something new. Something honest. Something real. Beatrice's kitchen smelled like garlic and safety. Vienna sat at the counter, actually smiling as Gunnar taught her how to twirl pasta the authentic way. For the first time in days, she looked like a kid again, not a casualty of her father's choices. The board meeting starts in an hour, Beatrice said, sliding a coffee across the island to me. You ready? As I'll ever be. I opened my laptop, reviewing the documents one last time. Did you send everything to... The doorbell cut me off. Through the front window, I saw Richard standing there with a woman I didn't recognize. That's Margaret, Beatrice whispered. The board's financial auditor. I may have sent her some interesting documents last night. I opened the door. Margaret's expression was grim. Mrs. Young, she said, I've spent all night reviewing the files your sister sent. The board needs to see this immediately. That's the plan. Richard cleared his throat. Rory's already there. He's telling them you fabricated everything. Of course he is. I gathered my things. Vienna, stay with Uncle Gunnar and Aunt Beatrice, okay? She nodded, mouthful of pasta. Gunnar gave me a thumbs up. We've got plans to make tiramisu. She'll be fine. The drive to the office was tense. Margaret reviewed her findings while Richard sat silently in the back seat. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Rory. Don't do this. We can work something out. Think about Vienna. The last one made me laugh bitterly. Now he thinks about Vienna? The boardroom was full when we arrived. Rory stood at the head of the table, mid-presentation. He faltered when he saw Margaret. As I was saying, he continued, these accusations are completely false. Margaret stepped forward, dropping a thick folder on the table. Like these transfer records? Or these passport applications? Or perhaps these emails to Anna about moving her and the children to the States? The board members began flipping through the documents. Rory's face went from red to white. This is a private family matter, he tried. Not when you used company funds, I said, finally speaking. Not when you stole from investors to finance your second life. Alleged second life, his lawyer interjected. Richard stood. No, not alleged. He pulled out his phone, showing emails from Anna herself. I reached out to her this morning. She's quite willing to testify. Rory lunged for the phone. Dad, you had no right... Like you had no right to steal from your company? Margaret asked. To deceive shareholders? To commit what amounts to massive fraud? The board chairman cleared his throat. Rory, step outside. Now. You can't. Now. As Rory left, I pulled out the passports. Found these in his office yesterday, brand new, issued last week. The chairman examined them, then looked at Margaret. Options? Criminal charges, she said promptly. Or, Rory called from the doorway. Or immediate resignation, full cooperation with our investigation, and repayment of all diverted funds. The room fell silent. Through the glass walls, I could see employees gathering, watching the drama unfold. My phone buzzed. Beatrice. Vienna wants you to know the tiramisu is perfect. Also, Anna just emailed again. She's willing to talk. I showed the message to Margaret, who nodded. One more thing, I said to the board. Sylvia's contract. She's coming with me along with any other clients who choose to do so. No competition clause was voided the moment Rory committed fraud. You can't prove... Rory started. Actually, Margaret interrupted. She can, and did. She turned to the board. Shall we vote? The next 15 minutes were a blur of legal terms and signatures. When it was done, Rory was out, I was reinstated, and the company's future hung in a precarious balance. In the hallway, Rory grabbed my arm. You've destroyed everything. I pulled away. No, you did that. I'm just cleaning up your mess. And Anna? He hissed. The kids? Will get what they're legally entitled to, Margaret said, appearing beside me. No more, no less. My phone buzzed again. A photo from Gunnar of Vienna laughing, face covered in tiramisu. I'm going home to our daughter, I told Rory. The one you seem to have forgotten about. Don't try to contact her unless it's through my lawyer. Richard stepped between us. I'll drive you. As we left, I heard Rory calling after us, but his words were drowned out by the sound of my heels on marble, walking away from the ruins of his lies. In the car, Richard sighed heavily. I never thought. None of us did, I said. But now we know, and knowing is better than living a lie. My phone lit up one last time. Beatrice, Vienna wants to know if you're coming home for tiramisu? Home. Not the house full of lies, but my sister's kitchen, where truth and pasta and healing waited. Yes, I typed back. I'm coming home. The meeting with Anna wasn't what I expected. She sat across from me in a private room at my lawyer's office, her hands wrapped around an untouched cup of coffee. She looked younger than I'd imagined, more scared than calculating. I didn't know about you at first, she said quietly. He told me he was divorced. Beside me, Beatrice shifted in her chair. When did you find out the truth? After Thomas was born. Anna's eyes filled with tears. By then, I was trapped. No job, 2 kids, completely dependent on his monthly transfers. My lawyer leaned forward. And the recent demands? The threats to expose everything? He promised to bring us here, give the children his name. She laughed bitterly. I actually believed him. My phone buzzed. A text from Vienna. Dad's trying to call me again. What should I do? Block him, I typed back, like we discussed. Anna pulled out her own phone, showing us photos. 2 children with Rory's eyes smiled back at me. Thomas, 4, and Lily, 2. My almost stepchildren, products of my husband's elaborate deception. They ask about him, Anna said. Every time he visits, they ask when he's coming back. Just like Vienna, I murmured. The door opened and Richard walked in, stopping short when he saw the photos. They have my mother's smile, he said softly. Anna looked up, recognition dawning. You're his father. Unfortunately. He sat down heavily. Those are my grandchildren. My lawyer cleared her throat. We need to discuss the settlement terms. For the next hour, we hammered out details. Anna would receive support for the children, but had to sign an NDA about the company's involvement. The kids would get trust funds, managed by an independent trustee. Everything neat, legal, contained. What about Rory? Anna asked. He's still trying to contact me. He's been served with a restraining order, my lawyer said, both for you and for Heidi and Vienna. My phone lit up again. Sylvia. 3 more clients just signed with us. Rory's trying to fight it, but the fraud allegations are scaring everyone away. Good, I typed back. Anna stood to leave, then hesitated. I'm sorry, she said. I know it doesn't help, but I am. It wasn't your fault, I replied. You were just trying to protect your children, like I'm protecting mine. After she left, Richard stared at the photos she'd left behind. I want to meet them, he said. My other grandchildren. We can arrange that, my lawyer assured him. Legally, carefully. Beatrice's phone chimed. Gunnar says Rory's at our house. He's demanding to see Vienna. I was already moving. Call the police. The drive to Beatrice's felt endless. When we arrived, 2 police cars were already there. Rory stood on the front lawn, shouting at the house while Gunnar blocked the door. She's my daughter, he yelled. You can't keep her from me. Actually, I said, getting out of the car. The restraining order says we can. He spun toward me. You did this. You turned everyone against me. No, your lies did that. I walked past him to the door. Vienna, you okay? She appeared in the doorway, safely behind Gunnar. I'm fine. Dad's just making a scene. Again. The police approached Rory. Sir, you need to leave, now. This isn't over, he snarled. Actually, it is. Richard stepped forward. The board voted an hour ago. You're being investigated for criminal fraud. Leave now, or these officers will have to add violation of a restraining order to the charges. Rory's face crumpled. For a moment, I saw the man I'd married. vulnerable, uncertain. Then his mask slipped back into place. "You'll regret this," he said, but he let the police escort him to his car. Inside, Vienna sat at the kitchen counter, picking at the remains of a sandwich. "You okay, sweetheart?" I asked. "Yeah." She looked up. "Is it true? About the fraud charges?" I sat beside her. "Yes. Your father, he made some very bad choices. Like stealing money to pay for his other kids?" Sometimes I forgot how perceptive she was. "Yes, like that." "Good." She straightened her shoulders. "He should pay for what he did." Beatrice brought over hot chocolate for everyone. "The police will make sure he stays away." My phone buzzed one last time. "Margaret. Board wants to meet tomorrow. They're preparing to go public with everything." I showed the message to Richard, who nodded grimly. "It's time," he said. "No more hiding." Vienna sipped her hot chocolate. "Can we stay here tonight? I don't want to go back to the house." "Of course," Beatrice said. "You can stay as long as you need." Through the window, I watched Rory's car disappear down the street. Tomorrow, his carefully constructed world would completely unravel. The board would announce their findings, the fraud investigation would go public, and both his families would move forward without him. "Mom?" Vienna's voice pulled me back. "What happens now?" I hugged her close. "Now we tell the truth. All of it. And then we start over." "Together?" she asked. "Together," I promised, looking around at our makeshift family. Beatrice, Gunnar, Richard, all united by Rory's betrayal, but standing stronger for it. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. Or married into. The press conference room was packed. I stood at the podium, cameras flashing as Margaret finished reading the board's official statement. "Investigation has revealed systematic fraud and misappropriation of company funds over a period of 5 years." In the front row, Sylvia gave me an encouraging nod. Behind her, Richard sat with Vienna, who insisted on being here. "I want to see it end," she'd said that morning. My phone buzzed silently. Beatrice. "Just saw Rory's lawyer entering the building. Heads up." Right on cue, the door at the back of the room opened. Rory strode in, his lawyer trailing behind him. "This is a witch hunt," he announced to the room. "These allegations are completely..." "True," I cut in, my voice steady. "And we have proof of every single one." Margaret stepped forward, distributing packets to the reporters. Bank records, travel documents, email correspondence, all verified by independent auditors. A reporter stood up. "Mr. Young, how do you respond to allegations that you used company funds to support a second family in Switzerland?" Rory's face reddened. "This is a private matter." "Not when it involves investor money," Margaret interrupted. "Not when it involves corporate fraud." Another reporter. "Mrs. Young, will you be taking over as CEO?" "No," I said firmly. "I'm starting my own company. Several major clients, including Sylvia Holdings, have already signed with us." "This is corporate sabotage," Rory shouted. "This is consequences," Richard said, standing up. "My son stole from his investors, his partners, and his family. As majority shareholder, I fully support the board's decision to press charges." The room erupted in questions. Through the chaos, I saw Vienna slip out into the hallway. I followed her. "You okay?" I asked, finding her by the water cooler. "Everyone will know now," she said quietly. "At school, online, everyone will know about what he did." "Yes," I admitted. "But they'll also know about what we did, how we stood up to him, how we chose truth over lies." The door burst open. Rory stormed out, his lawyer calling after him. "Is this what you wanted?" He snarled at me. "To destroy everything?" "Don't," Vienna said, stepping between us. "Just don't, Dad. You did this, not Mom." He deflated slightly. "Vienna, sweetie." "No. I saw the pictures of your other kids. I read the emails. You didn't just lie to Mom. You lied to all of us." Beatrice appeared, positioning herself next to Vienna. "The police are here. Something about violating the restraining order? 2 officers approached. Mr. Young, you need to come with us. You can't be serious. You were served with a restraining order, one officer said. You're not supposed to be within 500 feet of your wife or daughter. As they led him away, he called back. Vienna, please. Goodbye, Dad, she said softly. Inside the press room, Margaret was wrapping up. Criminal charges will be filed this afternoon. The company will cooperate fully with authorities. My phone lit up with messages. Sylvia, you're trending on Twitter, in a good way. Richard. Anna called. The kids are safe. Gunnar. Dinner's ready whenever you all are done changing the world. A reporter approached us in the hallway. Vienna, would you like to comment? Before I could intervene, she straightened her shoulders. My dad made bad choices, but my mom taught me that the truth matters more than keeping secrets. That's all I want to say. The reporter smiled. Wise words. Back in the press room, Margaret was fielding final questions. I caught snippets about stock prices, investor confidence, criminal proceedings. But none of it seemed to matter as much as Vienna's hand in mine, steady and sure. Beatrice gathered our things. Ready to go? Almost. I stepped back to the podium one last time. I want to say something to anyone watching who's living with lies, who's afraid to speak up, who's protecting someone else's secrets at the cost of their own truth. The room fell silent. You're stronger than the lies. The truth hurts, yes. It breaks things. But what it builds in return, trust, integrity, real relationships, that's worth everything. Vienna squeezed my hand. Outside, reporters called questions, cameras flashed, but we walked straight to the car where Richard waited. That's going to make headlines, Beatrice said, showing me her phone. The story was already breaking across social media. Good, I replied. Let people see what happens when you choose truth over comfortable lies. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Anna. The kids are asking about their father. I told them the truth, age appropriately. Thank you for making that possible. I showed the message to Vienna. She thought for a moment, then said, maybe someday I'd like to meet them. My half-siblings. Not now, but someday. Whenever you're ready, I promised. As we drove away from the press conference, from Rory's lies, from our old life, I caught glimpses of our story on every news screen we passed. But the real story wasn't in the headlines or sound bites. It was in Vienna's resilience, in Beatrice's loyalty, in Richard's courage to face his son's crimes. It was in the truth we'd chosen, painful as it was, over the comfort of lies. And it wasn't over yet. The morning sun streamed through the windows of my new office as Sylvia walked in, carrying 2 coffee cups and a newspaper. Have you seen this? She dropped the paper on my desk. The headline read, Former CEO pleads guilty to fraud charges. I heard, I said, taking the coffee. Richard called earlier. How's he handling it? Better than expected. He's actually in Switzerland right now, meeting his other grandchildren for the first time. My phone lit up with a photo. Richard sitting in a park with Thomas and Lily, all 3 of them laughing at something off camera. I showed it to Sylvia. Life's funny sometimes, she said. Speaking of which, your 9 o'clock is here. I looked up to see Anna standing in the doorway, looking more confident than she had at the lawyer's office. Thank you for meeting with me, she said as Sylvia excused herself. Of course. How are the kids? Good. They love having Richard visit. She sat down, pulling out a folder. I've been thinking about your offer. Last week, I'd proposed hiring her for our European operations. Her business degree and multilingual skills had been wasted playing the secret wife. The position is yours if you want it, I said. No strings attached. Why? She met my eyes. After everything. Because you were as much his victim as I was. And because you're qualified. She opened the folder, revealing a signed contract. Then I accept. My phone buzzed. Vienna. Dad's lawyer called. He wants to meet. Do you want to? I typed back. Yes, but only if you're there. I showed Anna the messages. Speaking of complicated family dynamics, how is she handling everything? Better than any of us expected. She's actually talking about visiting you and the kids this summer, if that's okay. Anna smiled. Thomas keeps asking about his big sister. The door opened and Beatrice walked in, carrying a stack of files. Quarterly projections are ready and, oh, hello, Anna. Anna just accepted the position, I said. Perfect timing. We need someone to handle the Munich office. My phone buzzed again. Richard sending another photo, this time of Lily on his shoulders. Family is what you make it, Anna said, looking at the picture. That's what I'm learning. Speaking of family, Beatrice said, Gunnar's making his pasta again tonight. Anna, you should come. Bring the kids. Really? Really, I confirmed. Vienna's been practicing her Italian with Gunnar. She'd love to teach Thomas and Lily. After Anna left, Beatrice perched on my desk. You okay with all this? It's a lot of blending. I'm okay with truth, I said. Everything else follows from that. My office door opened again. Vienna this time, home from school early for her therapy appointment. Mom, look. She held up a paper. I got an A on my essay about resilience. Let me see. I read the title. When Truth Breaks and Rebuilds Your Family. My teacher said I should submit it to the school paper, she said proudly. Is that okay? More than okay. Beatrice's phone chimed. Rory's sentencing is scheduled for next week. Vienna sat down. Are we going? Only if you want to, I said. I do. Not for him. For us. To see it finished. My phone lit up with a message from Sylvia. Board meeting in 5. Ready to show them what a woman's nurturing approach can really do? I smiled, gathering my files. Our new company had already outperformed my old one's quarterly projections. Mom, Vienna asked, can we stop for ice cream after my appointment? Like we used to? Of course. I hugged her. Same place? Same place, but different toppings. I think it's time to try something new. Beatrice laughed. Out of the mouths of babes. As we walked to the conference room, I passed the wall where our company's mission statement hung. Success through integrity. Growth through truth. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Richard. Lily has your smile when she laughs. Some things run deeper than lies. I looked around at my new office, my new company, my blended and broken and beautiful family. At Vienna, strong and wise beyond her years. At Beatrice, the sister who became my partner. At the photos on my desk. Not just the old ones of Vienna, but new ones too. Thomas and Lily with Richard. Anna and the kids in the park. All of us at Gunnar's last pasta night. Ready? Beatrice asked, holding the conference room door. I thought about Rory. About lies and truth, about breaking and rebuilding, about how sometimes you have to lose everything to find something better. Ready, I said. Because that's the thing about truth. It doesn't just break things. It builds them too. Stronger, better, more real than before. And we were living proof of that. Vienna tugged my hand. Mom, you're doing that thinking thing again. I smiled. Just appreciating our new normal. Me too, she said. Even the complicated parts, especially the complicated parts, I thought. Because that's where the truth lives. In the messy, beautiful, unexpected ways we build family from the ashes of lies. And I wouldn't have it any other way.